From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401, Fighting with a Beauty. Damn. This kid dares to mess with Sister Baoa. This guy's not afraid of death. Looking at his small body, Baoa beats him like beating a dog. He must not know how powerful Sister Baoa is, and he still wants to show off in front of Sister Baoa. Haha, he will know what a stupid mistake he made in a while. Listening to the whispers of the people around him, Su Weifeng felt more interesting. He came to the edge of the ring and looked up at Feng Baoa, but did not go on stage. What? You dare not come up? Feng Baoa looked at Su Weifeng coldly. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, I think it's not bad to appreciate the beauty from this angle. Feng Baoa was immediately furious, pointing at Su Weifeng and shouting, asshole, come up right now. Okay. Su Weifeng climbed up the ring slowly. The people around him laughed. If you dare to fight in the ring, you should at least be agile, but this man's movements are really not flattering. He doesn't look like someone who has practiced. Su Weifeng is actually very strong, but his strength is more restrained, not as obvious as the muscles of those who work out. So in the eyes of others, Su Weifeng's body looks a little weak, and this clumsy way of getting on the ring makes people look down on him. Standing in front of Feng Baoa, Su Weifeng looked at Feng Baoa unscrupulously. This Feng Baoa's figure is really amazing. The beauty of Lin Zhuangxuan and others is all delicate, a kind of traditional female weak beauty. But this Feng Baoa is a healthy beauty. Her skin is not very white, but a healthy wheat color. She doesn't have the muscle mass of real fitness, but she gives people a sense of strength. That kind of cold and annoyed look makes her full of a wild beauty, like a beautiful little female leopard, which makes men involuntarily have a strong desire to conquer her. If they can conquer her, they will definitely have a strong sense of satisfaction. Feng Baoa became even more annoyed by Su Weifeng's gaze and said angrily, if you look at me again, I will dig out your eyeballs. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, beauty, you are beautiful, can't I admire you? No. What Feng Baoa hated most was men looking at her like that. Now she was too lazy to talk nonsense with Su Weifeng and said, boy, don't say that I'm bullying you. Do you choose boxing or free fighting? Su Weifeng touched his chin and said, boxing has too many restrictions. It's not something we play. Besides, when fighting with a beauty like you, it's naturally better to be freer. While speaking, Su Weifeng still raised his eyebrows and deliberately glanced at Feng Baoa's towering breasts. Puff. This kid is looking for death. Sister Baoa is the best in free fighting. If it's boxing, Sister Baoa can't fully display it. Yeah, but every man who was beaten by Sister Baoa made this choice. Now there is just one more. The people below laughed continuously, as if Su Weifeng had made the stupidest choice. This is your own choice. Start. Feng Baoa shouted softly, without any pretense or probing. She took a step forward and punched Su Weifeng in the face. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes. Although it was just a simple punch, it can be seen that this woman's foundation is still quite solid. The speed is fast enough, the fist is also quite powerful, and the other hand is ready to attack or defend. It is obvious that she has practiced for many years. Su Weifeng turned sideways and easily avoided Feng Baoa's fist. She said jokingly, you're a little slow and not strong enough. You're looking for death. Feng Baoa shouted, punching him again and again, kicking him from time to time, and coordinating her punches and kicks quite well. Su Weifeng looked relaxed in the first two blows, but he seemed to be getting slower and slower in dodging. When he couldn't dodge, he could only use his arms to block Feng Baoa's fists. It seemed that Su Weifeng had been beaten by Feng Baoa without any chance to fight back. Of course, Su Weifeng was just pretending. Although Feng Baoa had some strength, her fighting style was more suitable for this kind of competition in the boxing ring, lacking the murderous aura of fighting a real life and death battle with the enemy. Su Weifeng was also deliberately playing with her, pretending to be in a passive situation. Feng Bao's punches and kicks on his body did not cause any damage at all, just like tickling him. Boy, fight back, you're so weak that you don't even dare to fight back. Feng Bao shouted softly while beating him. Su Weifeng was passively beaten, and he seemed to be very stubborn and said, "I don't want to hit a woman." Feng Bao snorted and said, "If you have the ability to beat me, that's your ability." Su Weifeng held his head and said, "Forget it. What if I hurt you and you cry? Asshole, if you don't have the ability, then you don't have the ability. I look down on you for being a coward here." Su Weifeng seemed to be irritated and said, "What you said is a bit too much. You forced me to take action." Feng Bao also said provocatively, "I forced you, so what?" After fighting for a while, although she hit Su Weifeng several times, Su Weifeng protected his vitals very well, and all his attacks had no effect. It was just like hitting a turtle shell, which made Feng Bao a little depressed. So he was urging Su Weifeng to take action. Only when the other party took action would he reveal his flaws, so that she could seize the opportunity. Forget it. You are a woman with so many sensitive parts on your body. If I hit you, you will say I'm a hooligan. I dare not fight back against an unreasonable woman like you. Feng Bao said angrily, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? No means no. Giving these reasons only shows that you are incompetent and a waste." Su Weifeng was hit twice again and said, "You have to say it. If I touch you, you can't blame me for being a hooligan." Feng Bao glared and said, "There are so many concerns on the ring. Otherwise, I will fight you. If you can hit me, it is your ability." Su Weifeng said cautiously, "Okay, this is what you said. I will take action." "You chatterbox, you are so angry." Feng Bao was even more furious and rushed over again, making Su Weifeng a little confused. At this moment, Su Weifeng suddenly punched out. Bang! With a muffled sound, the two men retreated at the same time. Feng Bao crossed her arms and stared at Su Weifeng with wide eyes. The people watching the excitement were originally shouting non-stop, but suddenly they became quiet and their eyes almost popped out. This guy actually hit Feng Bao. Chapter 402 You win. I'm going to kill you. Feng Bao was stunned for a few seconds, then she shouted loudly and rushed towards Su Weifeng. "Ah!" Su Weifeng screamed in fear and ran around in circles on the ring, shouting as he ran, "I told you not to force me to hit you. I'm afraid I'll hit your sensitive parts. You just said that you don't have to worry about this in the ring, but now you're cheating again." Feng Bao suddenly stopped, and Su Weifeng also stopped. Feng Bao clenched her fists and said through gritted teeth, "Okay, let's do it again." Su Weifeng said cautiously, "You're not angry anymore? Don't make it difficult for me. Your breasts are so big. If I can't hit your breasts, then I can't hit your upper body. Then I can only admit defeat. Whatever." Feng Bao gritted her teeth. Su Weifeng gave a thumbs up and said, "She is indeed a heroine. She doesn't mind being hit on the chest." Puff. Feng Bao almost vomited blood in anger. "Are you praising or insulting me?" What made Feng Bao almost suffocate was that Su Weifeng was rubbing his hands and said with shining eyes, "Then I won't be polite." "What do you mean by this expression? Are you rubbing your hands to show off your skills? Are you trying to have a good time?" Feng Bao had fought with others on this stage countless times, but she had never been so angry. Her eyes were already filled with rage. She roared and rushed towards Su Weifeng again. She had decided that she would no longer hold back. She would use all her strength to smash the head of the guy in front of her into a pig head and beat him so hard that he couldn't take care of himself. Under Feng Bao's violent attack, Su Weifeng was defeated again, but this time he was not completely defensive, but occasionally fought back. In anger, Feng Bao naturally focused on attacking and ignored defense. As a result, she did not hit Su Weifeng's vital points, but was successfully attacked by Su Weifeng several times. Every time Su Weifeng succeeded in a sneak attack, there was a burst of boos from the ring. Although most of these boos were scolding Su Weifeng, it was obvious that there were still many people who were envious and jealous. Feng Bao was taken advantage of several times in a row, but at this time, she was able to slowly calm down. When punching, she had already paid attention to defense, and Su Weifeng seemed to be less likely to succeed. The two fought for another half a minute, and it seemed that neither of them could do anything to the other. At the beginning, Su Weifeng defended with all his strength, as if he was wearing a thick tortoise shell, but now he is as agile as a monkey, always leaving Feng Bao with nothing to do. Su Weifeng also admired Feng Bao's physical strength. Although the two of them fought for less than 3 minutes, the physical exertion was quite great. Most people would have no strength left, but Feng Bao was still the same as at the beginning. However, Su Weifeng was not interested in playing anymore. This woman had a bad temper, so Su Weifeng deliberately disgusted her, but it was just a bad temper, and he couldn't really do anything to her. Now he just thought about how to end it. After exposing a flaw, Su Weifeng let Feng Bao punch him in the face, and he fell directly on the stage with the force. This time, he was not subjected to any force at all. Feng Bao also felt that this punch did not cause any force, but at this time there was no time to think about it, and she rushed forward suddenly. Since standing directly with fists and feet can't solve the problem, let's do a ground move. Su Weifeng seemed to be stunned by Feng Bao's beating, and he didn't know how to dodge at all. He was directly pressed under Feng Bao, who rode on Su Weifeng's waist, lowered his waist, and sat on the horse, using her weight to press Su Weifeng, preventing Su Weifeng from getting up, and punched him all over his head and face. Su Weifeng protected his face with his arms, which seemed to be a standard defensive posture. He pushed the ground with his feet, and kept exerting force with his waist, as if he wanted to throw Feng Bao off. Feng Bao felt that she could be thrown off at any time. After all, there was still some difference in the strength comparison between men and women. Suddenly, she grabbed Su Weifeng's right arm with both hands, and cleverly used Su Weifeng's strength to lean to one side, but her legs clamped Su Weifeng's neck at once, and her hands grabbed Su Weifeng's right arm, and pulled it to his chest. This is a well-known head strangulation kill in fighting skills. In this case, unless there is an absolute strong advantage in strength, he will definitely be subdued. Do you accept it? Feng Bao shouted loudly. No. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth. His face flushed, and the arm grabbed by Feng Bao was struggling hard, and the other hand grabbed Feng Bao's legs, trying to pry her legs apart. Feng Bao would never let Su Weifeng succeed, and she even strangled Su Weifeng's neck with force. I give up. I give up. Su Weifeng finally begged for mercy and admitted defeat. Feng Bao then let go of Su Weifeng, jumped up and raised her arms. The people watching the excitement cheered. Sister Bao is mighty. Sister Bao is invincible. Feng Bao looked at Su Weifeng, who was trying to get up, and was still coughing. She raised her chin and said arrogantly, "Boy, if you dare to be dishonest to me again, I will not be so polite next time." Su Weifeng said stubbornly, "Humph, it's just a shortcoming. I will learn a few more moves in the future, and I will deal with you sooner or later." Feng Bao glared, and said without showing any weakness, "Humph, if you have this ability, you are welcome to challenge me at any time." Su Weifeng looked very embarrassed and said, "Just wait, I won't lose to you again." After that, he jumped off the ring and slipped out. Feng Bao was complimented by others again, and then she jumped off the ring with satisfaction. "Bao, it seems like you've suffered a loss this time." A girl who had a good relationship with Feng Bao reminded her in a low voice. "Suffered a loss? Damn it." Feng Bao recalled the process and her face suddenly turned black. Although she defeated Su Weifeng, her purpose was not to compete with Su Weifeng, but to beat him up. She won now, but she didn't beat the other party, and it seemed that she was taken advantage of during the fight. Thinking about it again, when that guy jumped off the ring, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up, which was clearly a very proud expression. Feng Bao suddenly became even angrier. She was clearly fooled by that guy. Just when she was about to go to Su Weifeng to settle the score angrily, her cell phone rang. Chapter 403 Lin Zhuangxuan's criticism. Su Weifeng felt that it was not suitable to train here today. If Feng Bao came to her senses, she would definitely cause trouble for him. Su Weifeng could not do anything to this kind of woman who was not evil, but just had a bad temper. He could not reason with her, so it was better to avoid her. After changing his clothes, Su Weifeng went straight to the door. "Hey, are you okay?" The coach did not go to watch the game. Seeing Su Weifeng come out safely, he was very surprised. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "What can happen to me? What can a woman do to me?" The coach's mouth twitched. Then he gave Su Weifeng a thumbs up and said, "This is the first time I have seen someone who talked frivolously with Feng Bao," and walked out safely. "Where is that woman?" Su Weifeng glanced at the door, afraid that Feng Bao was guarding the door. Although Feng Bao's temper was the main reason, Su Weifeng thought about it afterwards and felt that he had done something a bit too much. After all, the other party was a girl, and he obviously meant to flirt with her by doing this. Normally, he doesn't do this, but he doesn't know why. When facing Feng Bao, he naturally wants to do this. The coach said, Feng Bao just left. It seems that she has something urgent to do. Su Weifeng breathed a sigh of relief and said, damn, you said it earlier. Then I'll come to apply for a membership card today. The coach said in surprise, you still want to work out here? Aren't you afraid that Feng Bao will cause you trouble in the future? She's just a woman. No problem. Su Weifeng waved his hand casually. The coach grinned and reminded, our gym doesn't refund membership cards. Su Weifeng smiled and said, no. At most, he won't bother Feng Bao anymore. He will stay away from her when he sees her. Although she has a bad temper, she doesn't seem to be a troublemaker. It shouldn't be a big problem. Then sir, please follow me. The coach had long determined that Su Weifeng and Feng Bao had a conflict, and this would not be a card. In the past, in such a situation, the person who was beaten never came to this club again. Who knew that it was actually done? This was simply too unexpected for him. After meeting Lin Zhuangxuan in the afternoon, Su Weifeng actually felt a little guilty. Fortunately, Lin Zhuangxuan had a lot of things to do and did not find any problems. This made Su Weifeng secretly remind himself that he should not be a thief, otherwise he would be guilty. In the evening, Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan went to the supermarket first to replenish the missing things at home, and then returned to the villa hand in hand. You are back. As soon as they opened the door, Qiao Yushan appeared in front of them. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan were holding hands and instinctively let go of each other at the same time. Fortunately, this action was quite secretive, and the two of them moved quickly and were not discovered by Qiao Yushan. Lin Zhuangxuan's reaction was also quite fast. An excited look appeared on her face. She said, sister, you didn't even tell me you were coming back. Did you want to give your brother-in-law a surprise? Qiao Yushan glanced at Su Weifeng, then coughed lightly and said, what surprise? It's just that some urgent matters happened in the company here, and I had to come back to deal with it myself. I'll also pick up some things by the way, and we'll go back tomorrow morning. Lin Zhuangxuan curled her lips and said, just say you miss your brother-in-law. If you miss him, why are you beating around the bush? I'm not someone else. I'm your sister. Don't I know what you're thinking? Qiao Yushan didn't refute this time. She came over and took the things in Lin Zhuangxuan's hand and said, why do you talk so much in a day? Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, you're really busy. You have to find time to come back to see your husband. Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan looked at each other, and then their expressions were a little weird. They were both used to calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend, and the term husband made both of them uncomfortable. They both got the marriage certificate, so it seemed quite normal for Lin Zhuangxuan to say this. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, it's been very hard recently, right? Qiao Yushan said, it's okay, but the way of working has changed a lot. The pressure is a bit high, but I can still handle it. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, the pressure doesn't have to be so great. Meng Keqing has plenty of money, and he doesn't care about such a company. Qiao Yushan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, that won't work either. This is Chairman Meng's trust in me. He handed such a big company to me. Even if I can't quickly increase the company's benefits, I can't let any problems occur in the company. The three of them sat down on the sofa in the living room, and Lin Zhuangxuan said with some disdain, sister, our brother-in-law is not short of money now. He has shares in so many companies. You can just go to a company and be the chairman or something. Why do you have to work for others instead of taking care of your own family affairs? This sentence really stumped Qiao Yushan. Yes, now that she and Su Weifeng are married, then what belongs to Su Weifeng is hers. It seems a bit unreasonable for her to work for others instead of managing so many assets in the family. Lin Zhuangxuan was proud of herself when she saw that she had stumped Qiao Yushan, but she couldn't let Qiao Yushan get away with it, so she shook her head and said, I really don't understand your heart. Even if these are my brother-in-law's premarital assets, you have to stick to this face. Why do the husband and wife divide it so clearly? Besides, my brother-in-law is not such a stingy person. I can prove this. Even if I ask my brother-in-law for 100 million now, my brother-in-law can give it to me, right? Brother-in-law? Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan still have a tacit understanding. They smiled and said, of course, you are Yushan's sister, so you are just like my own sister. Not to mention 100 million. 1 billion is no problem, as long as I have it. Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes at Qiao Yushan again and said, look, my brother-in-law can do this to me. How can he not be willing to give up his wife like you? Qiao Yushan coughed lightly and said, this is not a question. That your brother-in-law and I can distinguish clearly. Now that we both have so much property, I actually don't want to make money anymore. I want to realize my own life value. From your brother-in-law, everything is what I deserve. It's like I got it for free. I have no sense of accomplishment. Oh, okay, what value of life, what sense of accomplishment? Is there anything better than living a good life together as a couple? Now, you two are living apart. Don't you want to be together with your brother-in-law every day? Su Weifeng felt that Lin Zhuangxuan was getting more and more serious. If he kept asking like this, Qiao Yushan would be speechless and even have to admit that they were a fake couple. Chapter 404, Zhuangxuan lives here? He coughed lightly and said, Zhuangxuan, I actually feel that it's good now. If a couple keeps some distance, they can always feel fresh. If they are together every day, their tongues will definitely touch each other, and conflicts are inevitable. Qiao Yushan immediately followed up and said, yes, we are still young now, and we always need to do something. Just like you like to play with those small videos, and want to be a director. If you really want to make money, you can stay at home now, and we can support you. Lin Zhuangxuan snorted and said, it's different for me. I'm still single, but you are already married, right? Life is still long, and we can spend a lot of time together. Your brother-in-law also promised me to let me do something I like again. Don't you think so, Weifeng? Qiao Yushan secretly winked at Su Weifeng while speaking. Su Weifeng sweated in his heart, feeling that he was really a little sorry for Qiao Yushan, because she was the only one who was still acting seriously, acting this kind of couple drama, and Lin Zhuangxuan had known about their relationship for a long time. Okay, Zhuangxuan, your sister is back, we must be happy, I'll make you something delicious. After Su Weifeng left, Lin Zhuangxuan sat next to Qiao Yushan, hugged her arm and said, sister, it's not a good thing for you to do this. I'm really worried about you. You have such a good husband, what if you don't keep him well, and let someone else snatch him away? Qiao Yushan smiled and said, if someone snatches him away, that's her ability. You can do it, can you? Men like new things. It's often not that you are not good enough, but you just get snatched away by women who are not as good as you. Humph, if you don't keep a close eye on a man, he will definitely go out and flirt with other women. At this point, Lin Zhuangxuan thought of the matter between Su Weifeng and Zhao Zhaoshu, and she couldn't help gritting her teeth. Qiao Yushan didn't notice Lin Zhuangxuan's expression and said, you work with him every day and go home together, so just keep an eye on him for me. Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, I can keep an eye on him for you, but can I be his wife for you? I could help you before, but I can't help you now. At least I can't sleep with him for you, right? Qiao Yushan coughed lightly and said, you're talking nonsense again. I will consider what you said, but Menkeking trusts me so much, I certainly can't give it up right away. I'll consider coming back when the head office is stable. Menkeking. Lin Zhuangxuan curled her lips and said, I think she is your biggest enemy. Don't talk nonsense. Who is Menkeking? How could she do such a thing? Then who knows? Maybe she likes her brother-in-law. He saved her life, and that's the most unforgettable thing for a woman. You just study videos and scripts every day, and you make yourself sensitive. Reality is reality, and art is art. Don't you know a saying? That is, art comes from life, but it has been processed. Many stories are derived from real events, so that the audience can feel involved. They are not made up. Qiao Yushan gave Lin Zhuangxuan a helpless look and said, you are really getting more and more talkative now. Okay, I will consider your words and take them seriously. That's alright, you are now as good as my mother. Su Weifeng cooked a few dishes. After everyone finished eating, Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, "You are reunited after a short separation. Go back to your room quickly. I will go back to my room too." Looking at Lin Zhuangxuan walking upstairs with light steps, Su Weifeng felt a little strange. The relationship between the two people was heating up. Lin Zhuangxuan saw him and Qiao Yushan together. Even if they didn't really go to bed, shouldn't she be unhappy? At least she should be a little jealous. But why did it feel like Lin Zhuangxuan was quite happy? This made Su Weifeng unable to understand Lin Zhuangxuan's heart. Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan also returned to the room. Qiao Yushan said awkwardly, "This Zhuangxuan, this big class is for me today." Su Weifeng said, "She is also concerned about you." Qiao Yushan shook her head and said, "I know, but she doesn't know that our couple is fake. This kindness is really misplaced." Su Weifeng rubbed his nose subconsciously and said, "It seems so. No more talking. I want to take a shower first. You can do whatever you want." "I can do whatever I want?" Su Weifeng looked at Qiao Yushan in confusion. Qiao Yushan knew what Su Weifeng was thinking when she saw his expression. Her face turned red all of a sudden. She spat at him and said, "What are you thinking about? I said you can play however you want." Puff. Su Weifeng also knew that Qiao Yushan didn't mean that, but Qiao Yushan's explanation made things worse, which made him laugh. I'm going to take a shower." Qiao Yushan was even more embarrassed. She glared at Su Weifeng hatefully and went to get her pajamas and went into the bathroom. Su Weifeng smiled and lay down on the bed, holding his phone and looking at it casually. After about half an hour, Qiao Yushan came out, but her face looked a little strange and her eyes were fixed on Su Weifeng. "What's wrong?" Su Weifeng looked at Qiao Yushan in some confusion. Why did she look like this after taking a shower? Qiao Yushan hesitated for a moment and said, "These 2 days, Zhuangxuan has been living here with you?" "Well, how did you know?" Su Weifeng thought about it and decided to admit it immediately because he had figured out what was wrong. Lin Zhuangxuan is a girl, and it is normal for her to change her underwear every day. She lived here for the past 2 days, and she washed the underwear she changed and hung it in the bathroom. This is obviously the biggest loophole. Qiao Yushan must be blind, otherwise she will definitely see it. The most important thing is that neither of them expected Qiao Yushan to come back today, so they were careless. "What are you doing?" Qiao Yushan frowned even tighter, and her eyes were also fixed on Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng's mind raced, and he felt that he still couldn't confess this to Qiao Yushan, otherwise it would make it difficult for Lin Zhuangxuan. "We were both bored, so we watched a movie at home." Zhuangxuan insisted on trying a horror movie, and then she was so scared that she couldn't sleep. I didn't expect her to be so scared. Qiao Yushan's face suddenly relaxed, and she said, "This girl has been like this since she was a child. She is especially afraid of the dark and thunder. She got better when she grew up. She knew she was like this, but she still watched horror movies. It's really a shame." Su Weifeng secretly breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Yeah, seeing how scared she was, I had no choice but to let her sleep here. But don't worry, we are just like before, and we didn't do anything. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 405. The bed at home is still comfortable. "Yeah, I know." Qiao Yushan's reaction was somewhat indifferent. Su Weifeng said in confusion, "Don't you doubt me and Zhuangxuan?" Qiao Yushan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "I have lived with you for a long time, and it's not the first time she has lived with you. If something was going to happen, it would have happened a long time ago." After a pause, Qiao Yushan sat down, looked at Su Weifeng, and said, "If you really like Zhuangxuan, then tell me. I also support you two being together." Su Weifeng's mouth twitched and said, "Your idea is really bold. I say, if this is really the case, how will your family explain it? And how will Zhuangxuan's family explain it? Let's just be honest, it's no big deal." Qiao Yushan thought it through. Su Weifeng actually felt a little frustrated, which showed that Qiao Yushan didn't care about him. Qiao Yushan asked in confusion, "What's with that expression? Am I wrong?" "It's not wrong, but, well, it's nothing. You think too much." Qiao Yushan looked at Su Weifeng, and a blush suddenly appeared on her face, and then she said in a reproachful tone, "Hurry up and take a shower." This tone is not common, but Su Weifeng was also a little confused, and got up, and went to the bathroom. Qiao Yushan shook her head gently. She just read a kind of loss in Su Weifeng's eyes, when she said it was no big deal. "Humph, this guy doesn't have any ideas about me, does he?" Qiao Yushan felt a sweet taste in her heart, but she immediately dismissed this idea. She was not a qualified girlfriend, and her heart was now devoted to her career. Zhuang Xin and Su Weifeng had a good relationship. If the two of them had ideas, they should really help them. After Su Weifeng came out of the shower, the two lay on the bed, and Su Weifeng asked about Qiao Yushan's work there. Qiao Yushan always chose light-hearted answers, and after a while, she took the initiative to change the subject. "I haven't been to your company once. You are doing well now, right? Not bad now." I really didn't expect that Zhuang Xin, who is so lively, could actually do her job so peacefully. It seems that there is always someone who can conquer her, and you are the only one who can conquer her. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "Zhuang Xin just didn't have the opportunity before. Now the development of the internet, plus some other help, has given her a platform to display her talents." Qiao Yushan smiled and said, "Don't be so modest. Zhuang Xin has a wild temper. You never know what new tricks she will come up with in the future. You have to keep an eye on her." Su Weifeng was a little surprised. Qiao Yushan usually didn't mention these things. What happened today? While answering, he observed Qiao Yushan. "I know. I treat her as a friend, too." Qiao Yushan seemed to have discovered that Su Weifeng had doubts. At this time, she stretched out her arms, kicked her legs and feet lightly, and said with a smile, "After sleeping outside for a few days, why do I feel that this bed at home is still more comfortable?" Su Weifeng laughed and said, "You chose it yourself, so it's comfortable. Well, it's a pity that I can't sleep every day in the future. By the way, please massage my feet." As he said that, he had already put one of his legs on Su Weifeng's belly. "It's Milner." Su Weifeng held Qiao Yushan's feet, massaged them twice, and said, "Have you been walking a lot these days?" "Yes, I just arrived at the head office, and I have to walk around in various departments, and there are also some subordinate companies. I have to walk all day long, and my feet hurt a lot when I go home at night." Su Weifeng said with some heartache, "It's really too hard, otherwise. How about you come with me?" Qiao Yushan asked with a smile. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Okay, I'll be your nanny." Qiao Yushan smiled and said, "Come on, I can't afford you. I'll try to come back and stay for 2 days a week. You can massage me, and it should be relieved." Su Weifeng was just talking. It would be so boring for him to serve Qiao Yushan, and he couldn't bear to leave Lin Zhuangxin. As she was talking, Qiao Yushan's cell phone rang. Qiao Yushan apologized and said, "I'll take it." The call was from the head office. Qiao Yushan talked for more than 10 minutes. As soon as the call ended, another document was sent to Qiao Yushan via WeChat for her to review. Qiao Yushan was immediately busy with work again. Su Weifeng couldn't help but shake his head secretly and didn't disturb Qiao Yushan. It was really too hard to be a CEO. Su Weifeng gave her a massage seriously. Qiao Yushan finally finished the things in her hands, and then she found something strange. Her face turned red, and she said angrily, "Where are you pressing?" "Oh." Su Weifeng quickly withdrew his hand. He had been trying to make Qiao Yushan relax, so he kept pressing. His hand was moving higher and higher, far beyond the knee. Su Weifeng said awkwardly, "I'm sorry, I don't want to take advantage of you. I just want you to relax." "It's okay, I know, it's really comfortable." Qiao Yushan blushed, but said, "This way." She turned around, and turned sideways to face Su Weifeng, and her legs were also on Su Weifeng's stomach. Su Weifeng started pressing from the feet again, and then Qiao Yushan was busy again. When he pressed to the knees, Su Weifeng stopped, and didn't dare to go up. Qiao Yushan stopped the work in her hands. A faint smile appeared on her face, and said, "Why don't you continue?" still going up. Su Weifeng looked at Qiao Yushan. Yes. Qiao Yushan answered, and then started looking at the phone again, but her face was still flushed. With Qiao Yushan's approval, Su Weifeng had nothing to be afraid of, and he also pressed her. But Su Weifeng felt different this time. Just now he was fully engaged and didn't think about anything else, but now the feeling made him have some wild thoughts. Especially Qiao Yushan's blushing face. It was clear that she also had her mind on his hand, and she didn't stop it, which seemed to have explained something. Su Weifeng's hand subconsciously loosened, and then it was not a massage, but a caress. Qiao Yushan's eyes suddenly turned to his face, and then quickly returned to the phone again, biting her lips lightly, pretending to know nothing. But Su Weifeng knew that she was clear, and such a reaction was clearly a tacit consent. An impulse quickly rose in Su Weifeng's heart, and he was extremely bold, and the movements of his hands were becoming more and more irregular. Chapter 406. Realm comes at the wrong time. Qiao Yushan's breathing became more and more rapid, and her heart was beating wildly. This bastard, his hand. Qiao Yushan cursed in her heart, but that hand seemed to have a kind of magic. That special feeling made her want to refuse in her heart, but she couldn't utter a word. She didn't dare to look at Su Weifeng. She could only hope that Su Weifeng would take his hand away as soon as possible, so that she wouldn't have to endure it like this. But this guy was obviously addicted. Not only did he not end it, but he was getting more and more intense. Woo. Qiao Yushan suddenly made a kitten-like sound, threw away the phone, and suddenly put her face on Su Weifeng's shoulder, and her arms subconsciously hugged Su Weifeng's chest. Su Weifeng only felt a bang in his head. The true energy once again stirred in his meridians, and that wonderful state was produced again. Sometimes it really has to be said that this state comes at a very bad time. Under this situation, it seems to be a matter of course for Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan to have something happen. But when this state of mind came into being, Su Weifeng was immersed in it, and then all his reactions and movements would stop. Qiao Yushan had already been fully engaged, and she was really looking forward to Su Weifeng's further actions. But Su Weifeng suddenly stopped, and there were no more extra movements, and she immediately felt something was wrong. After waiting for a while, it was still the same, so she opened her eyes, and looked at Su Weifeng, and then she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She knew Su Weifeng's treatment method, and now it was obvious that Su Weifeng had that situation again, which meant that the two of them could no longer continue. This bastard, really? Qiao Yushan didn't know whether to be thankful or annoyed. After muttering in her heart, her emotions slowly stabilized. She just snuggled up to Su Weifeng, didn't disturb him, closed her eyes, and fell asleep quickly. Su Weifeng finally came out of that state, and saw Qiao Yushan sleeping next to him, and suddenly felt a little fortunate. His resistance to women has been getting lower and lower recently. Last time, that kind of thing almost happened with Zhao Xiaoshu. It was like a gap in a solid dam. When he was with Qiao Yushan and Lin Zhuangxun, it was too easy to collapse. His self-control was getting weaker and weaker. If he continued like this, it would not be long before he would have that kind of unspeakable thing with someone. This was not okay, and he could not give them. Just when he thought of something like responsibility, Lin Zhuangxun's contemptuous expression came to his mind again. Every time he used responsibility to resist his feelings, Lin Zhuangxun would always look at him with such contempt, which made him feel that his inner perseverance was getting weaker and weaker, and he could not even hold on any longer. Sighing, Su Weifeng didn't know what to do next. He was really confused. Su Weifeng was a very decisive person, which was the most basic quality required for a special soldier. The situation on the battlefield changed rapidly, and a decision was delayed by even a few seconds, which could cause great casualties. But he found that in terms of feelings, it was difficult for him to play out his characteristics in this aspect. Unable to figure it out for a moment, Su Weifeng simply let it go for the time being. After all, this matter was not imminent, and it was still okay to deal with it slowly. Closing his eyes, Su Weifeng once again immersed himself in the recovery of his true energy. After reaching the realm, he still needed to consolidate it. In this way, he fell asleep unconsciously. When he woke up the next day, Su Weifeng felt a little stuffy. Qiao Yushan was almost half lying on him and sleeping. In the past, when Qiao Yushan was with him, she was half a meter away from him, and the two did not even touch each other's fingers all night. Now those distances no longer exist. Not only are they close to each other, but they are also stacked together. When Qiao Yushan woke up and found herself in this position, she immediately turned over, and her face turned a little red. It's okay, I have a good physique, and you can't crush me to death. Su Weifeng laughed and teased. You, humph, you take advantage of me and say sarcastic words. I despise you. Qiao Yushan glared at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng said aggrievedly, you were the one who pressed me, how can I take advantage of you? Then, were you massaging me last night? Do you dare to say that you didn't take advantage of me? Su Weifeng was speechless. Qiao Yushan was embarrassed to dwell on this matter. After all, her reaction at that time was also very embarrassing. She changed the subject and asked, have you recovered? Su Weifeng said sincerely, thank you, I felt a little better yesterday. That's good, but your way of recovery. Qiao Yushan couldn't help but twitched the corner of her mouth. Su Weifeng said awkwardly, this method is really weird. Qiao Yushan looked into Su Weifeng's eyes and said, then you don't have any other methods? Su Weifeng rubbed his nose and said, I haven't found any yet. I just feel that this method works. Qiao Yushan glared at Su Weifeng and said, this is simply a perfect excuse for you to be a hooligan. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and opened his mouth to say the key points, but when the word came to his lips, he swallowed them back. If he said it, wouldn't it mean that Qiao Yushan knew that he also had feelings for Lin Zhuangxun? Qiao Yushan didn't say more about this topic and said, I will go to the company early today and then go back to the provincial capital after I finish my work. Su Weifeng said, will you come back on the weekend? My parents will be back tonight. I will try my best to come back. Su Weifeng sat up and said, then I'll help you get some breakfast. Don't bother, I'll eat at the company. It's uncomfortable to eat at home. Su Weifeng smiled and went to the bathroom. Qiao Yushan was really touched. With Su Weifeng's status and wealth, he could easily wave his hand and there would be countless beautiful women vying to serve him. But such a man actually made breakfast for her. Wasn't it a bit too much? Lin Zhuangxuan got up very early, and when breakfast was ready, she also came to the restaurant. She glanced back and forth between Su Weifeng and Qiao Yushan's faces, and then said with a smile, a short separation is better than a new marriage. The ancients were right. Seeing how radiant you two are, you must be in love tonight. Qiao Yushan actually felt a little guilty, and said in a timid tone, can you focus on other things today? Lin Zhuangxuan said with a smile, the relationship between you and your brother-in-law is a big deal. I'm afraid there will be problems in your relationship. Qiao Yushan suddenly smiled faintly and said, then we still have you. Chapter 407 Why don't you care? On the way to work, Lin Zhuangxuan sat in the passenger seat, frowned slightly, and said, what did you talk about last night? Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, nothing. Lin Zhuangxuan said with a stern face, you lied to me. I felt that my sister was weird today. You must have talked about something. What happened to you yesterday? Su Weifeng hesitated for a moment and said, last night, I gave her a massage, and then while massaging, did you have sex? Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes lit up. Su Weifeng was a little stunned. Lin Zhuangxuan's expression was confusing. If he had sex with Qiao Yushan, Lin Zhuangxuan should be sad, angry, and why did he look so excited? Lin Zhuangxuan was even more excited at this time and said, tell me quickly, did you have sex? No. Su Weifeng denied it quickly. Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes and said, nothing happened. Why do you have such an expression? Su Weifeng said guiltily, my actions were a bit too much, and then I entered that state. Oh my god, that's it. Then why is she so weird? Lin Zhuangxuan frowned. Su Weifeng said cautiously, Zhuangxuan, aren't you angry? Lin Zhuangxuan said nonchalantly, why should I be angry? She is your wife, and you have to do whatever you do to her. But, there is no but. If you have an affair with other women, I will definitely be angry, but no matter what happens between you and Qiao Yushan, I can accept it. Su Weifeng's mouth twitched, and said, then we. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled, and said, we. What are you talking about? What did Qiao Yushan say to you later? Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, she just saw your clothes in the bathroom and knew that you lived with me for the past 2 days. I really overlooked this matter. The most important thing is that I didn't expect her to come back suddenly. No wonder she said these inexplicable things to me today. What did she tell you? Su Weifeng asked curiously. Lin Zhuangxuan blinked and said proudly, guess. Su Weifeng's face turned black and he said, how can I guess it? Lin Zhuangxuan was even happier and said, then go ask your wife later. Su Weifeng was a little speechless, but Lin Zhuangxuan just wouldn't say anything, and he had no idea what to do. He really couldn't figure out what the two sisters were doing. One thing that puzzled him was that Lin Zhuangxuan didn't care about him and Qiao Yushan, and Qiao Yushan didn't seem to care about her relationship with Lin Zhuangxuan. After a while of work, Su Weifeng's WeChat rang. It was Zhao Xiaoshu who sent it. Brother Su, can I bother you for a moment? Seeing this very careful words, Su Weifeng felt a little embarrassed. After hesitating for a moment, he replied, of course. The message from the other side came immediately. I revised what I wrote last time. Can you help me take a look and see if there are any problems? I'm not in a hurry. Just help me take a look when you have time. Su Weifeng said, send it to me. After all, I'm not very professional. I will ask a professional to take a look. Okay, then trouble brother Su. Zhao Xiaoshu sent Su Weifeng a document and then sent a smiley face, and then there was no movement. Lin Zhuangxuan came in at that time, and Su Weifeng directly handed the phone to Lin Zhuangxuan to prove his innocence with Zhao Xiaoshu. After reading it, Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, you are trying to hide something and it only makes it more obvious. You have something to hide. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, am I not being honest? Is it okay for me to hide it from you? You dare? Lin Zhuangxuan glared at Su Weifeng again and said, then let Sun Yumeng take a look at this and see what she thinks. Su Weifeng passed the manuscript directly to Sun Yumeng. Before leaving get off work, Sun Yumeng took the initiative to find Su Weifeng, with an excited expression on her face, and said, brother Su, where did you get this manuscript? I feel that the story is quite good, and the characterization is quite good. It's a very good novel. Su Weifeng said, why is it praised so highly? Sun Yumeng nodded repeatedly and said, yes, although there are still some shortcomings in some aspects and the writing style seems a little immature, but I feel that even some famous writers can't write such a good story. I think if we adapt this story into a script, it will definitely be very good when it is filmed. Su Weifeng said, it was written by Zhao Xiaoshu. Zhao Xiaoshu. I remember. It's that college student. We filmed a movie in her school. I never thought she had such a talent. Su Weifeng smiled and said, then do you think we should buy the copyright? Sun Yu thought for a while and said, I think it should be worth it. It would be best if we could buy all the copyrights and help to act as an agent in the future. After the film is produced, the value of other copyrights will also increase, and we will also make some money in other aspects. Su Weifeng nodded and said, then let's discuss it with Mr. Lin. Lin Zhuangxuan came over just in time, and Sun Yumeng repeated her evaluation and thoughts. Lin Zhuangxuan said, we really haven't bought these things before, so how much do you think this thing is worth? Sun Yumeng was a little confused for a moment. This kind of pricing is a very important thing, but she has never done it before. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, we also discussed it in advance, just speak boldly. Sun Yumeng hesitated for a moment and said, I don't know much about the value of copyright. I will go back and study it carefully today and then determine the price. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan both nodded in appreciation. The most important thing for Sun Yumeng is to be prudent and not speak without thinking. Lin Zhuangxuan said, then I think that in the future, Yumeng will be responsible for discussing cooperation with Zhao Xiaoshu. Lin Zhuangxuan widened his eyes and said, me. I will be responsible for it from now on. Lin Zhuangxuan said, yes, the manuscripts provided by our own screenwriter team are no longer enough for our filming, and everyone's creativity is also limited. If you can acquire some ideas and stories from outside, your pressure will be less, and you can discover more stories. But, this involves pricing. I'm afraid I can't do it well. This is definitely a great power. If it is given to others, they will definitely be very happy, but Sun Yumeng is worried that it will not be done well. Su Weifeng said, "You don't have to bear too much burden on this." Before quoting, "You should study it with us first. After confirming it, you can talk about it, and there will be no problem." Okay. Sun Yumeng was relieved at this time. Chapter 408. Some people just deserve to be punished. After Sun Yumeng left, Lin Zhuangxuan said jokingly, "I ruined your chance to meet your lover. Are you a little unhappy?" Su Weifeng hugged Lin Zhuangxuan directly, kissed her gently on the face, and said, "You are enough for me. I love to hear that." Lin Zhuangxuan returned the kiss, then pushed Su Weifeng away and said, "Stop making trouble, hurry up and get off work to pick up uncle and aunt." Today, Su Weifeng's parents came back, and Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan drove to the station to pick them up. Along the way, Shenji was telling Lin Zhuangxuan about his experience of this trip, and took out his mobile phone to show Lin Zhuangxuan the photos. It was obvious that the old couple was still having a lot of fun. The four of them had a bite outside, and Su Weifeng originally wanted them to go back to the villa. But his parents insisted on going home, so Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan could only send them back, and then chatted with them for a while before leaving. Now Lin Zhuangxuan is Lin Zhuangxuan. She can no longer pretend to be Qiao Yushan and stay overnight at Su Weifeng's house. At least they can't sleep in the same bed, otherwise Su Weifeng's parents will be scared. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan returned to the villa, and there were only two of them. The two of them were almost unscrupulous. There was no way to describe their various grudges. Fortunately, Su Weifeng was very clear about what to do and what not to do, and did not do anything too out of line. Sun Yumeng, this little girl, is really serious about her work. The next morning, she had already come up with a specific plan. The last time I went to the provincial capital to study, the classmates still set up a group. Su Weifeng didn't say much in it, but Sun Yumeng usually greeted the classmates and said something. She was also very enthusiastic about what others said. In addition, Su Weifeng showed his connections, so many people also deliberately made friends with Sun Yumeng. Many of them have been working in the film and television industry for many years, and are very clear about the value of copyright, so Sun Yumeng quickly got a general idea from them, and made a basic assessment of the copyright value of Zhao Xiaoshu's novel. "Mr. Su, Mr. Lin, I have two cooperation plans for this novel. The first is to buy out the entire copyright. I asked the seniors for a price of about 200,000 yuan for such a newcomer, which should be enough to buy out the entire copyright. The second plan is to adopt a profit-sharing method. We can give her tens of thousands of yuan, usually about 50,000 yuan, and then obtain the exclusive agency rights of her copyright. No matter what copyright development we carry out in the future, we will settle with her by profit sharing. In the first way, we pay more costs, but if this book performs well, compared with the future income, we will pay the least, and the income may be higher. In the second way, we will pay very little in the early stage, but when there are really good incomes in the future, we will also give more to the author." After listening to Sun Yumeng's analysis, Lin Zhuangxuan said, "Which way do you prefer?" Sun Yumeng said, "I still prefer the first way. Although the initial investment is a little more, we still have high expectations for this work. I believe we will not lose money, and will get better income in the future." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "In this case, it seems that Zhao Xiaoshu will lose money." Lin Zhuangxuan immediately rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "Are you standing from the company's perspective, or from her perspective?" Su Weifeng immediately shut up. Sun Yumeng said, "Actually, she is not at a loss. If there is no company willing to promote her first book, it will be very difficult for her to publish or sell the copyright. We are giving her the best opportunity. Our resources are what she wants most and what she can't buy with any money." Lin Zhuangxuan nodded and said, "Okay, then you go and negotiate with her. It's okay to have some fluctuations. As long as you think the price is okay, then we can sign it. Yumeng, you did a good job." "Okay." Sun Yumeng quickly agreed, her face flushed a little. This was the first time she took on such an important responsibility. Sun Yumeng's cell phone suddenly rang. Lin Zhuangxuan motioned for her to answer the phone first. "Dad, what's wrong?" "What? They went to gamble? This is too much. How can they do this? Didn't they go to the bride price?" Okay, I know. After hanging up the phone, Sun Yumeng's face showed an extremely angry expression. What's wrong? Lin Zhuangxuan asked. Sun Yumeng's eyes were a little red, biting her lip and said, a few days ago, my stepmother and my brother just got 500,000 yuan from brother Su. Who knew that my stepmother actually used the money to gamble, and my brother even recharged the game casually, and he has spent more than half of the 500,000 yuan. Lin Zhuangxuan was also annoyed and said, they are really too much. Sun Yumeng's tears of grievance flowed out, and she choked and said, yes, brother Su was originally helping them. Who knew they would be like this? It's simply. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, this is what I expected. Okay, I'll take care of this matter. I must teach them a lesson. Lesson? Lin Zhuangxuan asked puzzledly. Lin Zhuangxuan nodded, then looked at Sun Yumeng and said, Yumeng, I'm going to find a few people to beat them up, so that they will learn a lesson. Maybe they will suffer a little. Do you have any objection? Sun Yumeng bit her lip and said, okay, as long as they can stop doing this, it's okay. Su Weifeng directly found a business card and dialed it. Who? There was an impolite roar from the other side. Su Weifeng said lightly, I'm Su Weifeng. Brother Bao is a noble man who forgets things easily. I haven't thanked Brother Bao for giving me a seat 2 days ago. Ah, big brother. Hello, big brother. You can just call me Wang Bao, or Leopard. Wang Bao didn't know Su Weifeng's name, but when he mentioned the incident at the food stall 2 days ago, he naturally knew who it was. Su Weifeng was not polite either. To a man like Wang Bao, he didn't need to be polite at all. Well, I have something for you to do for me. Wang Bao was overjoyed and patted his chest and said, brother, just give me your orders. No matter what it is, I will do it for you. Su Weifeng said, you set up a trap and cheat all her money out. Okay, I'm familiar with this matter. Brother, just tell me who to go after, and I will cheat her until there is nothing left. This person is my friend's mother. Don't go too far. I just want her to stop gambling from now on. Got it? No problem. Tell me where that person is, and what her name is, and I'll do it right away. Chapter 409 Dealing with Sun Yumeng's stepmother. Wang Yanli is really awesome now. The 500,000 yuan she got from Su Weifeng made her feel like the richest person here. She was a gambler and used to spend almost the entire day in the mahjong room in the village. But at that time, her family didn't have much money, except for the pocket money she could get from Sun Yumeng, so she played small. Now that she has money in her hands, she participated in a big gambling game under the temptation of others. After dinner, Wang Yanli received a call from her poker friend, Sister Wang. There is a game tonight, do you want to play? Wang Yanli said arrogantly, yes, but small games are boring. Look at what you said, Sister Wang. Everyone knows that you are rich and powerful. How can a small game dare to invite you? Wang Yanli was flattered and grinned happily, saying, that's good. Where is it? I'll be there right away. After hanging up the phone, Sun Yumeng's father stopped her and said, don't go. You will lose all the money. This is for your son's wedding. What are you afraid of? If you don't have it, you can ask your son-in-law for it. Your daughter has found a big boss. This little money is nothing. No, if you ask for money like this, people will look down on Yumeng in the future. You know nothing. I think he treats Yumeng well. If we don't take this opportunity to make more money, will we wait for a few years and the boss will get tired of the old and fall in love with the new? Then you will still make a lot of money. Get out of the way. I will definitely win a lot today. Pushing Sun Yumeng's father aside, Wang Yanli hummed a little tune and ran out quickly. One of the people playing cards with Wang Yanli today was from the village, and the other two were bosses from outside. Wang Yanli was a little worried about playing with outsiders, but after they complimented her a few times and there were people from the village as guarantors, she lost her guard and started playing with them. Maybe she was very lucky today. After playing for half the night, Wang Yanli won more than 100,000 yuan. The two bosses kept admiring Wang Yanli's good luck and made an appointment to continue playing tomorrow. It was the first time that Wang Yanli won so much money. She was so arrogant when she went home, and then she gave her son 20,000 yuan directly. Her son was not vague and directly charged more than 10,000 yuan in the game. The next day, the card game continued, and Wang Yanli's luck was still good, and she won more than 100,000 yuan again. The two bosses were a little red-eyed, and proposed to increase the stakes. Wang Yanli agreed without hesitation. After raising the stakes, Wang Yanli was no longer so lucky. She lost more than 400,000 yuan in a short time. Not only did she lose the money she won, but she also lost all her original capital. A boss immediately said, "Sister Wang has no money, so let's just leave it at that for today." Wang Yanli immediately said, "No, although I don't have any money now, my son-in-law has plenty of money and will send me money tomorrow. Then wait until you get the money before playing." No, I haven't had enough fun today. You guys can lend me some first." The two hesitated for a moment and agreed. This was a trap, waiting for Wang Yanli to borrow money, and then Wang Yanli borrowed more and more, and by noon the next day, she had borrowed almost 1 million. "Sister Wang, let's stop here today." Wang Yanli glared and said, "Come again, I'll borrow another 500,000. "Sorry, Sister Wang, you have to return the 1 million to us." Wang Yanli said nonchalantly, "It's just 1 million, no big deal. I'll give it back when I get back, lend it to me now." One of them said, "Sister Wang, you'd better make the call here. We are not very familiar with each other. If you leave, I'm afraid I will default on this debt." Wang Yanli glared and said, "Would I owe you more than 1 million? You really underestimated me. We also know that Sister Wang is rich, but this 1 million is not a small amount of money for us. Sister Wang, hurry up." While talking, two more people came in. The two were big and strong, and ferocious. Wang Yanli said arrogantly, "What? Are you going to force me? Do you know what my son-in-law does? Do you know Boss Chen Bing? He doesn't dare to mess with my son-in-law. So who are you? Who is Boss Chen?" A man came out. It was Wang Bao. "Brother Bao." Several people hurriedly greeted Wang Bao respectfully. Seeing Wang Yanli's puzzled face, a younger brother said, "This is Brother Bao. He has hundreds of brothers under him, and he has several places in the city with assets of over 100 million. Do you think your boss Chin can compare with our Brother Bao?" A big man glared, took out a dagger, and stabbed it hard on the table, shouting, "You bastard, pay me back quickly, or I'll chop off your fingers." Wang Yanli suddenly felt a little weak, grinned, and said, "I'll call my daughter right away, don't worry." She quickly found Sun Yumeng's phone number and called. The phone rang for a long time before Sun Yumeng answered. Wang Yanli immediately shouted, "Yumeng, help me, I've been kidnapped, and they want 1 million. "Oh, I'm busy," Sun Yumeng said lightly, and then hung up the phone. Wang Yanli saw that those people were all staring at her, as if they were going to eat her up. She was so scared that she shrank back and said anxiously, No, I'll call again." She called Sun Yumeng again, and Sun Yumeng immediately said impatiently, "I'm really busy. Yumeng, please save me. If you don't save me, I'm really going to die." "Really?" Sun Yumeng's tone was still so calm. "Yumeng, although I haven't been very good to you over the years, I have raised you anyway. Besides, your brother can't live without a mother, and I have to take care of your father too." It's okay, I will take care of my father." Sun Yumeng used to be submissive when talking to her. Now this attitude really makes Wang Yanli uncomfortable, but now she has to ask Sun Yumeng for help, so she can only beg and say, "Yumeng, please, ask your boyfriend to give me another 2 million, and I will pay off my gambling debts, and I will definitely not bother you again in the future." 2 million? Didn't you say 1 million? Sun Yumeng was so angry that she shouted. She and Su Weifeng had known about this for a long time, but they didn't expect that Wang Yanli not only wanted to pay off her gambling debts, but also wanted to ask for more money. How could there be such a shameless person? Wang Yanli blinked at Wang Bao and others, and said, "They just raised the price again. Yumeng, you must help me." Wang Bao and others also widened their eyes at this time. It was the first time they saw such a powerful person. At this time, he didn't forget to ask for more money from himself. How shameless he was. Chapter 410, Scared to Death. Su Weifeng took the phone and said, "Who is it? Let him answer the phone." When Wang Yanli heard Su Weifeng's voice, she immediately became confident and said anxiously, "Son-in-law, you must help me." Su Weifeng snorted and said, "I want to see who is so awesome." Wang Yanli quickly handed the phone to Wang Bao, covered the microphone with her hand, and said with a smile on her face, Brother Bao, 2 million, 2 million. Wang Bao's mouth twitched twice before he answered the phone. He deliberately pressed the hands-free button and said ferociously, Boy, who are you? I'm Su Weifeng. Who are you? I'm Wang Bao. Ah, Brother Bao, I've heard of your name for a long time. I'm Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng, I know you. You're just a small boss. Why do you want to wrestle with me? No, Brother Bao, Wang Yanli is my girlfriend's mother. Can you give me some face? Is your face valuable? 1 million, 1 cent less, and I'll chop her up. Hearing this, Wang Yanli was already lacking confidence. She had thought that Su Weifeng was very powerful, but it seemed that he was not as powerful as this leopard brother. As for the minimum of 1 million, she did not dare to think too much. Now she just wanted to settle the matter. Su Weifeng said again, but I'm short of funds now. No money? Okay, then how about I cut off one of her fingers and send it to you? One of the younger brothers immediately grabbed Wang Yanli's hand and pressed it on the table, and the other immediately picked up a dagger. Wang Yanli screamed in fear and struggled desperately, but she was no match for the two burly men. Seeing the other party's dagger dangling in her hand, she screamed like a pig being slaughtered. This, Brother Bao, it's not that I don't care, I really can't control this woman. I just gave her 500,000 yuan, and she lost it all in a few days. You can do whatever you want. Su Weifeng's words immediately frightened Wang Yanli to the point of almost losing her soul. She shouted at the top of her voice, Uncle, I won't dare to do it again. Please save me. They really have knives in their hands. They can really kill me. Su Weifeng said, then I can't do anything. 1 million is not a small amount. I don't run a bank, so I can't take it out. At this time, two people dragged another person in. Brother Bao, this kid can't pay back the money. What should we do? Wang Bao glared and said, cut off one of his hands. Okay. One guy immediately pressed the man's arm on the table, and the other took a machete and chopped it off fiercely. Half of the arm was immediately chopped off, and blood spurted out directly, and it also sprayed Wang Yanli's face. Wang Yanli almost fainted from fright, her mouth trembling, her face pale, and a foul smell suddenly came out of the room. The two dragged the screaming man out. Wang Bao said to the phone, did you hear that, boy? Either take the money, or cut off your hand. Wang Yanli immediately screamed, Uncle, I don't want my hand to be cut off. You save me, you must save me. Su Weifeng said, how can I have so much money? I really don't have it. Wang Bao immediately shouted, then cut off her hand. The two big men were about to take action. Weifeng, just help her this time. Sun Yumeng's voice came from the phone. It's not that I don't want to help, I really don't have money. Last time, they took away my company's working capital. Now it's difficult to operate. You know that. Wang Yanli seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw, and she said with tears and snot, Yumeng, please save me. If you save me this time, I will never dare to do it again. I will take good care of your father, and I will never ask you for money again. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth and said in a very painful voice, okay, I will go and raise some money. Brother Bao, give me another day. Wang Bao snorted and said impatiently, okay, for your sake, I will give you another day. If you don't give me the money after one day, I will chop this woman up and feed her to the dogs. Just after hanging up the phone, Sundong came. Mom, what's wrong with you? Sundong was shocked when he saw his mother's miserable appearance. Wang Bao glared and said, oh, your son is here, that's great. I was afraid that you would run away, so I detained you all. What are you doing? Sundong still wanted to struggle, but a few slaps in the face made Sundong lose his temper, especially when he saw the blood on the table and the ground, and his legs became weak. Don't hit my son, this is none of his business. Wang Yanli shouted. After all, he was her own flesh and blood, so she still had some maternal instinct. HMPH, bring the money, both of you leave, or I'll chop off your hands. Wang Yanli and Sundong were thrown into a dilapidated house, and no one could answer their cries. From time to time, they could hear screams of people being beaten outside, all of whom were debtors due to gambling losses. Sun Dan finally understood what was going on and said angrily, "It's all your fault. Why did you gamble for money? Not only did you hurt yourself, but you also hurt me. It's all my mother's fault. Where's your money? Take some out first and calm them down first. I've recharged all my money. You prodigal son, you recharged all that money to play games. You can gamble, why can't I recharge to play games? Now it's all over. I don't know if both of us can walk out alive. It's all your fault." The two complained here, but soon, they didn't have the energy to do it. From the window, they could see that the outsiders were dealing with two people from time to time, chopping off their hands and feet. There was blood everywhere in the yard, just like a slaughterhouse. Of course, this was not real. Wang Bao and his men were too skilled at this kind of thing. They just chopped off the fake arms and added some pig blood and chicken blood, which was enough to scare the two laymen to death. Finally, the next day, Wang Bao appeared again. "Brother Bao." Wang Yanli looked at Wang Bao tremblingly. "HMPH, you found a good son-in-law. He sold half of his company and only then raised 1 million for you. If it were me, I would let you die and would never care about you." Wang Yanli breathed a sigh of relief and said quickly, "Yes, son-in-law is a good man." Wang Bao grinned and said, "Haha, welcome to play with us again in the future. This place is owned by me. As long as you are interested, I'm willing to play with a silly woman like you." Wang Yanli was like seeing a flood beast. She shook her head and said, "No more, no more. I will never play again." "Then get out." Wang Yanli and Sun Dan crawled out of this devil's cave. When they returned home, they were still scared and did not dare to go out for several days. Chapter 411. This place is so exciting. Su Weifeng and Sun Yumeng also rushed back on the weekend. Wang Yanli and Sun Dan were too guilty to speak. Su Weifeng had a gloomy face when he came in. Sun Yumeng sighed and said, "This time, you have caused Brother Su's company so much trouble. You should handle your own affairs in the future. We can't help you in this situation now." Wang Yanli said with a bitter face, "We won't dare to do it again." Sun Yumeng shook her head and said, "Then it's up to you. If there is a next time, I will definitely let my dad divorce you. Don't dare." Sun Yumeng's father was also extremely annoyed at this time and shouted, "Yumeng, if they have any problems again, let them fend for themselves. You have been worthy of me and them." Su Weifeng snorted and turned away. After the two got in the car and left, Sun Yumeng sighed and said, "I don't know if it will work." Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "It should be almost the same. At least in the short term, they should restrain themselves. It's useless to reason with people like them. Only when they know how terrible others are, can they be afraid." Sun Yumeng smiled bitterly and shook her head, saying, "Looking at their miserable appearance, I really don't sympathize with them. Am I a little too cruel?" Su Weifeng said, "You are too soft-hearted. Your softness has indulged them. It seems to be true. I'm afraid that they will come to the company to make trouble again after a while. If they dare to come again, I still suggest that your father divorce her. Your father is only in his 50s. If he finds another one, he will definitely be able to find a better one. It's better not to have a woman like this. Alas. After all, there is Xiaodong. Your brother is not a good thing either. If you don't let them go out to suffer a little, he will never grow up." Sun Yumeng sighed and said, "That's right. I really shouldn't be soft-hearted." Su Weifeng knew that Sun Yumeng was not a cruel person, so he did not say more about this matter. Halfway through the journey, Hao Qiang called and asked him to go out for a drink. Su Weifeng immediately agreed. Su Weifeng did not take Sun Yumeng with him, but sent Sun Yumeng back home, and then drove the car back home. Qiao Yushan also came back on the weekend. Her parents, Qiao Yushan and Lin Zhuangxuan, were playing mahjong. Su Weifeng said something to them, and Shenji glared at them and said, "Yushan just came back on the weekend, and you are going out for a drink again. What a shame. You are not allowed to go." Qiao Yushan immediately said, "Auntie, it is normal for men to socialize with each other. I'm fine." Su Weifeng also hurriedly said, "I'll try to come back as soon as possible." Shenji was just pretending and scolded Su Weifeng a few more words, then pushed the cards and said loudly, "Hula hula, self-draw." He also waved at Su Weifeng, as if waving a fly with disdain. Su Weifeng was also a little speechless. It seemed that his parents rarely played mahjong before, but now it was easy to get a table together at home, which was quite lively. He took a taxi directly to the agreed bar, and Hao Zhao Qiang was waiting at the door. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Why don't you go in?" Hao Zhao Qiang chuckled and said, "I have never been to such a place before. If you don't come, I will feel uneasy." Su Weifeng put his arm around Hao Zhao Qiang's shoulders and smiled. "Then I will take you to see it today. Bars are places that not everyone has been to. For an honest and decent person like Hao Zhao Qiang, when he goes out to drink with others, it is generally said to be a food stall, at most a restaurant, and then a karaoke bar to drink and sing. For him, places like bars are inevitably a bit mysterious." After entering, Su Weifeng explained to Hao Zhao Qiang, and then ordered some wine and some snacks, and the two of them drank in a booth. This bar is not a solitary bar. It is very lively inside. There are performances on the stage in the middle. People around cheer and applaud. It seems very lively. The two drank for more than an hour. Su Weifeng felt like peeing, so he went to the bathroom. Just as he took out his bladder to pee, the door behind him was suddenly pushed open. Su Weifeng was startled. He tilted his head and saw a man wearing a baseball cap rushing in. The face of that man was the one that Su Weifeng had a deep impression of. It turned out to be Feng Bao, who had fought in the gym that day. "Police, don't make a sound." As soon as Feng Bao came in, she stretched out her hand and pressed it on Su Weifeng's mouth. She whispered in Su Weifeng's ear. This really made Su Weifeng unexpected that Feng Bao was actually a policeman. But even if you are a policeman, you can't break into the men's bathroom. The most important thing is that I'm still peeing. Su Weifeng was about to pull up his pants, but Feng Bao glared at him and said, "Don't move." Su Weifeng's face turned black, and he pointed to his waistband. Feng Bao looked down, her eyes suddenly stood up, and she looked at Su Weifeng's face fiercely, and then her expression froze. "Sister, even if you are a police officer, you wouldn't do this, right? Asshole." Feng Bao punched Su Weifeng in the stomach. Ouch. Su Weifeng screamed miserably, although it didn't hurt much, but he still had to pretend. "I'm on a mission. If you dare not cooperate with me, I'll make you look good." Feng Bao said viciously again. Su Weifeng covered his stomach and said helplessly, "Cooperate, cooperate, but you have to let me pull up my pants." Feng Bao snorted and turned her head away quickly. Su Weifeng then pulled up his pants, then grinned and said, "Comrade Police, what do you want me to cooperate with now?" Feng Bao was about to speak, but suddenly her expression became stern, and she whispered, "I'm following a suspect." Su Weifeng immediately straightened his chest and said, "I know, I will never let you get caught." At this moment, two people walked into the bathroom, and they were talking as they walked. Feng Bao immediately warned Su Weifeng with his eyes, not letting him talk, and then pricked up his ears to listen to the person outside. The two people said a few words casually, and when they were about to get to the point, the other person said, "Don't talk nonsense, see if there is anyone here." The other person immediately came over and pushed the doors one by one. This bathroom was not big, with a total of 4 seats. Su Weifeng and his position were at the innermost, which might be the reason why Feng Bao went in directly. There was no one in the first 3 places, so they immediately came to Su Weifeng and his position. Su Weifeng looked at Feng Bao, and Feng Bao frowned, obviously not expecting the other party to be so vigilant and to check even when talking here. His eyes flashed, and he suddenly stretched out his arms and hugged Su Weifeng's neck. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, Cooperation. The door was not locked, so the man pushed it open. Seeing Su Weifeng and Feng Bao hugging each other, he was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing, turned around and shouted to the other person, "Brother, there are 2 gays here." Su Weifeng pushed Feng Bao away and said angrily, "You are the one who is gay. Your whole family is gay. This is a girl. You are blind." Feng Bao's face turned green. She didn't expect Su Weifeng to speak at this time. But Su Weifeng had such a reaction. If she didn't react again, it would be unreasonable. She turned around and glared at the two people, cursing, "I'm a woman, you have eyes to eat shit." The two people looked at Feng Bao, then they all clicked their tongues and said, "Such a beautiful and wild girl, so interesting, and she is so good at playing, running to the men's bathroom, to have sex with others." Another person also laughed and said, "Ha, brother, you pushed the door too early. If you pushed the door when they were doing it, we could still see a good show." Feng Bao glared at the two people fiercely and said, "It's none of your business, you ruined my mood." Then she walked out with a wave of her hand. Su Weifeng hurriedly caught up, directly hugged Feng Bao's waist, and said, "Don't be angry with those two idiots. Let's go to another place later, and I will definitely let you enjoy it this time." The laughter of the two guys came from behind. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao walked out of the bathroom. Feng Bao glared at him and said, "Why don't you let me go?" Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, "Are you sure?" "Nonsense. If you don't let me go, I'll kill you." Su Weifeng shook his head gently and said, "How can you be a policeman?" Feng Bao was very annoyed by Su Weifeng's contemptuous look and said, "What's wrong with me? Are you sure that there are only the two of them here and no accomplices? Now the two of us have left a deep impression in their hearts. If we separate now, do you think they will doubt you?" Feng Bao was speechless. What Su Weifeng said was obviously a flaw. Su Weifeng puffed out his chest and said, "I'm a good citizen. Although it is very dangerous to be with an unreasonable, big-breasted, and brainless policeman like you, for the harmony of society and to catch people who harm society, I will reluctantly cooperate with you. Who do you say is big-breasted and brainless?" Feng Bao gritted her teeth. "Look at you, you still have this expression. Are you afraid that others don't know that we have a feud? Are you afraid that others will see that we are not a couple?" Feng Bao's mouth twitched twice rapidly, then she raised her hand and rubbed her cheeks vigorously. The anger on her face had disappeared, and she smiled and said, "You are right. Now you cooperate with me well. I won't bother with you about our past accounts." Su Weifeng rolled his eyes and said, "Oh my god, I'm risking my life to cooperate with you. Who knows what those people do? At least I should get a bravery award, right?" Feng Bao snorted and said, "Okay, if it succeeds this time, I will apply for it for you." "That's good enough, let's go, dear." Su Weifeng smiled and hugged Feng Bao and walked forward. Feng Bao was really angry when Su Weifeng hugged her like this. If this happened somewhere else, she would definitely beat this bastard's head into a dog's head. This way. Feng Bao gritted her teeth. At this time, she could only endure it. After all, catching people was more important. She took Su Weifeng to a booth in the corner. There were 2 bottles of beer on the table and only a plate of melon seeds. "They are right next to us. Be careful." Feng Bao pointed to the booth next to him and warned Su Weifeng in a low voice. Su Weifeng looked nervous and excited. He looked around and said, "Are there other people cooperating with you?" "No, I suddenly found their traces, and one person followed me." "What? Are you scared?" Feng Bao gave Su Weifeng a disdainful sneer. "Afraid? Why would I be afraid? Although I can't beat you, at least I know some kung fu. They are just 2 petty thieves. I can kill them in minutes." "Petty thieves?" Feng Bao snorted and said, "These 2 people are not that simple. They are involved in a very important criminal group. They are very powerful. They have killed people. They are definitely the kind of people who kill without blinking an eye." "Oh my god." Su Weifeng widened his eyes and then immediately said excitedly, "Exciting." Feng Bao's face was a little dark, but looking at Su Weifeng's appearance, she felt that it was a little unreliable and said, "You don't have to be nervous, and don't do anything reckless. My goal this time is not to arrest them, but to get more important information from them." Su Weifeng nodded repeatedly and said, I know, but why do I feel that you are not that reliable?" "I'm not reliable?" Feng Bao's face was dark, and he said angrily, "How am I unreliable?" Su Weifeng said, "Look at you. There are only 2 bottles of beer and a plate of melon seeds on the table. You don't look like you are here to drink, especially with a asterisk like me." Feng Bao clenched her fist and was about to punch Su Weifeng in the face and said, "What did you say?" "We both did something in the bathroom." Normal boyfriends and girlfriends would never do such things, unless we are both the kind of people who like to seek excitement. This image must have been established in their minds. If we don't maintain this image, they will definitely find our problems when they come back. Feng Bao subconsciously loosened her fist and said, "What should we do now?" Su Weifeng gave Feng Bao a teachable expression and said, "It's very simple. First of all, we need to order more food and drinks, so that it looks like we are here to have fun." Okay. Feng Bao immediately agreed. Su Weifeng immediately stood up and called, "Waiter, why are you so loud?" Feng Bao was immediately startled. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes at Feng Bao and said, "Stupid, the more natural we are, the less suspicious others will be. You look like a thief who cannot pay attention to us." Feng Bao was speechless, rolled his eyes, and said nothing more. A waiter came over immediately. Su Weifeng immediately ordered a lot of food and drinks. The waiter immediately said, "Sir, a total of 860 yuan." Su Weifeng looked at Feng Bao. Feng Bao's face was dark, and he took out his mobile phone to pay. "You bastard, why did you order so much? More than 800 yuan at a time. There are only 2 of us. Can we finish it? You are performing official duties. Can you get reimbursed?" Su Weifeng blinked, and then with a smug expression, he said, "The rest, I can pack it up and take it back as a snack." Feng Bao's face suddenly turned dark. If she hadn't held it tightly, the mobile phone in her hand would have hit Su Weifeng's face at this time. Chapter 413 suffered a big loss. Hao Qiang waited for a while, but Su Weifeng didn't come back. He got up and looked around. Soon he saw Su Weifeng sitting with a girl. He was stunned. When did Su Weifeng become so fickle? Su Weifeng also saw Hao Qiang and took out his mobile phone to send him a message. "I have something to do. Don't come over." Fuck, brother Feng, your luck with women is too strong. Be careful of becoming a peach blossom disaster. Hao Qiang is also an honest and decent person. He is still single. He doesn't feel anything about the fact that several people like Su Weifeng, which shows that Su Weifeng is excellent. But Su Weifeng is now actively picking up girls. He has such a beautiful girlfriend at home, but he still comes out to hunt for food. This is a bit too much. What Hao Qiang can't accept the most is that, even if Su Weifeng comes out to hunt for food, he can also find Zheng Shiking. Why is he getting involved with such a shady woman in the bar? But Su Weifeng didn't let him go over, so he didn't go over, but he made up his mind in his heart that he must have a good talk with Su Weifeng when he comes back. Su Weifeng had no idea that Hao Qiang would think so much, and he was still teasing Feng Bao at this time. He picked up a large piece of grilled fish fillet and stuffed it into his mouth. While chewing, he said vaguely, TSK, it's different when there is public funding. It's so refreshing to spend money." Feng Bao gritted her teeth and said, "Arsehole, I didn't apply for it. I have to spend this money myself." "Oh my god, no way, you are performing official duties." "I'm doing this temporarily, okay? I didn't apply in advance." "Then just go back and tell me." "It's not that simple. If everyone goes out for a meal and says they met a suspect, it's a public business. That would be a mess." "You mean you won't reimburse this money?" "Of course not, unless I really find their clues or directly catch an important person. You ordered so much, I will have nothing to eat for the rest of the month." "Your salary is so low?" Su Weifeng said puzzledly. "I remember your salary should be very high. I haven't been working for a long time. Besides, can't I spend it this month?" "You bastard, you are born to cheat me." At this point, Feng Bao gnashed her teeth again. Su Weifeng was somewhat surprised. From what Feng Bao said, this woman with a bad temper was also a dedicated person with a strong sense of professional ethics. Although one of them was a soldier and the other a policeman, one was responsible for national security and the other was mainly responsible for maintaining local peace and protecting the safety of people's property. They were still in a big family. One was responsible for the interior and the other for the exterior, and they were actually serving the country and the people. This made Su Weifeng have a much better impression of Feng Bao, and he was less interested in teasing her. So he said, "Okay, I'll transfer the money to you, and consider it as my treat." Feng Bao snorted and said, if you help me, consider it as my treat, but if you ruin my business, I will make you pay. Don't talk nonsense. They are back. As he was talking, the two people who were in the toilet just now came over and stopped at the booth next to them. Feng Bao must have confirmed that they were here first and then came to choose the seats. The two people did not sit down immediately, but stood there and looked around and then cast their eyes on Su Weifeng and the others. The backrest of the booth was not low, about 1.5 meters. If you sit down, you can see others. But if you stand up, you can still see others. What are you looking at? Su Weifeng immediately glared at the two guys. One of the guys immediately laughed and said, "Ha, it's you two. Come on, show us a show." Su Weifeng looked even more fierce and stood up all of a sudden, saying, "Just now you two guys ruined my good thing. I didn't bother with you. You are still messing with me now. Do you think I'm easy to mess with? I tell you, I can just make a phone call and dozens of brothers will come over to kill you. So awesome? Come on, call one and try." The guy's face also sank. The other person frowned, pulled him, lowered his voice, and said, "What are you talking about with these little hooligans?" Humph. The guy calmed down, glared at Su Weifeng again, and then sat down with the man. HMPH. To cowards, you are showing off here with me. Girl, how about it? Brother is awesome, right? After Su Weifeng showed off his power, he pinched Feng Bao's face again. Feng Bao had a bad temper, but that didn't mean she was stupid. At this time, she immediately cooperated with a drunken smile and said, "Brother is so handsome." Of course, brother is handsome. Let's drink to our heart's content later. Let's change places, and I'll let you know that I'm even more powerful. Okay, I'm not afraid of you, but you can't be a coward when the time comes. Men can't say no. Today I must make you beg for mercy. The two talked about romantic things and then sat down. The two guys also sat down. Such a pair of men and women obviously made them less vigilant. Feng Bao immediately pricked up her ears and wanted to listen to what the two people said, but the bar was very noisy, and with the back of the chair blocking her, she couldn't hear what they said at all. She wanted to move closer to the two people, but she was worried that standing up would attract their attention. Su Weifeng immediately saw her intention, pointed at his own leg, and then pointed to the other side. Feng Bao immediately understood. It seemed that the least noticeable thing to do now was to step over Su Weifeng's legs. She was also a straightforward person. At this time she directly pressed Su Weifeng's shoulders and wanted to step over his legs. But as luck would have it, a guy over there stood up again for some reason and looked over here. Feng Bao was a little confused for a moment, but she only felt her waist tightened, and then she was hugged by Su Weifeng, and her mouth was instantly kissed. Feng Bao was so ashamed and angry that she wanted to run away, but the hand on her waist was like an iron clamp, preventing her from getting up. The man's laughter came from the side. "Haha, you're really fucking horny. I'm a little angry." Feng Bao's heart moved, and she suddenly understood what Su Weifeng meant. In this case, if she stood up directly, it would obviously make people suspicious. In the bathroom, they had already created the image of a pair of horny men and women. Such a reaction at this time seemed to be in line with the character setting. She quickly hugged Su Weifeng's head tightly. As for kissing, she really didn't know how to do it, so she just let Su Weifeng do it. Chapter 414. This is a great bargain. Feng Bao thought that guy would sit down after taking a look, so she wouldn't have to act out this scene anymore. But that guy not only didn't sit down, but also called the other guy. The two guys spoke in low voices, as if they were afraid of disturbing them, and they wanted to watch the two perform. Feng Bao really had the urge to kill them at this time. These two bastards, how could they still have such a fetish? Shouldn't they avoid seeing others being intimate? Why do they want to watch the excitement? If you think so, how should we act? The key is that she really can't do it. Suddenly, she felt the push of Su Weifeng's hand on her waist, and Feng Bao instinctively resisted this force. But Su Weifeng insisted on pushing her, and finally made her understand that he wanted her to do this action. But how could she do it? She could only follow the force of Su Weifeng's hand and sway left and right. Then the most important thing was Su Weifeng's kiss with her. This was simply making Feng Bao unbearable. At this moment, Su Weifeng suddenly let go of her, patted her on the butt, and said with a smile, "Don't be so anxious, there will be fun in the evening. I won't be full if I eat now. I have to eat something first to have strength." Feng Bao was, as if she had been pardoned, but she was also smart, and did not get off Su Weifeng's legs immediately. Instead, she hit Su Weifeng on the shoulder and said, "You are so troublesome." Then she rolled off Su Weifeng's legs, and sat on the side next to the two guys. "Damn, it's over so soon." It wasn't even intense. The two men muttered a few times, and then sat down again. Feng Bao stretched out her hand, and pinched Su Weifeng's arm, staring at him fiercely without saying a word. Su Weifeng's mouth was close to her ear and said, "I didn't mean to take advantage of you. In the situation just now, you know that, if I didn't do that, I would definitely be exposed." Feng Bao naturally knew that this was true, but she suffered such a big loss, and she was still indescribably annoyed. She is a virgin girl, and she has never had a boyfriend. Just now, she lost her first kiss. This is a first kiss. For a girl, it is such an important thing. Even a woman like Feng Bao, who is more generous, can't care about it for a while. Feng Bao felt that, if she thought about this problem again, she would collapse in anger. In addition, she had a strong sense of responsibility, so she immediately put her ear on the back of the chair next to her, trying to eavesdrop on the other party's conversation. Su Weifeng couldn't help but shake his head in his heart. This Feng Bao is still too young. With this level, if she goes out to perform a mission, she will be discovered and killed in minutes. At this time, Feng Bao saw two familiar figures coming. They were her two colleagues. When she found these two people just now, she immediately sent a message to her colleagues and asked them to come to support. With the arrival of her colleagues, she immediately settled down. But she didn't dare to greet the two people now, so as not to alert them. The two colleagues also saw Feng Bao at this time. They were actually very worried that Feng Bao, an impulsive guy, would go up and have sex with the man. Now that they were safe, they finally felt at ease. But seeing that there was a man sitting next to Su Weifeng, they were a little confused. They didn't know if he was from the gang, so they just glanced at Feng Bao and then sat directly in a booth a little further away. Although the two men only glanced over here, Su Weifeng had already determined that they were Feng Bao's colleagues. The position they sat in was so remote that no one would normally look over here. At most, they would just see if there was anyone. Handing Feng Bao a bottle of wine, Su Weifeng said loudly, "Come on, have a drink. If you don't drink more, it won't be wild enough. I like the way you act wild on me when you drink too much." Feng Bao's face turned black. It would have been fine if this guy said that when the colleagues were not here just now, but now what do the colleagues think of him saying that? Okay, for the mission, to catch the suspect, I'll endure it. But at this time, she had no way to explain. She could only glare at Su Weifeng, mutter a few words in her heart, then took the wine, and took a sip. Su Weifeng seemed completely dissatisfied, and kept urging her to drink, as if he would not stop until Feng Bao was drunk. Feng Bao was simply not tired of it. Is this guy cooperating with her? This guy is simply up to something. Seeing that Su Weifeng actually leaned over this time, Feng Bao really wanted to slap this guy away. But seeing that Su Weifeng was actually winking at her, she finally suppressed the impulse and let Su Weifeng's head come closer. "You can't do this. You are not a gentle and lovely little girl. You are a woman who seeks excitement. You don't have any reaction. What do you think the two people next to you think?" Feng Bao was shocked when she heard this. She did make mistakes again and again. She didn't want to make these mistakes, but when she saw Su Weifeng, she couldn't help but feel resistant, and the hatred and anger in her heart couldn't help but come out, which suppressed her own intelligence. At least, Feng Bao thought she was very smart, otherwise how could she think of pulling a man to be her shield? Taking a deep breath, Feng Bao put her mouth close to Su Weifeng's ear and whispered, "I understand, but..." At this point, she showed an embarrassed expression on her face. Su Weifeng showed a wicked smile and said, "You don't know how to do it. I can teach you." "Teach me?" Feng Bao immediately stared at Su Weifeng's face with vigilance, and then said, "Boy, I'm not a fool. If you want to take advantage of me, take advantage of me." Humph. Oh my god, if you do that, then I won't care about you. With our identities, a scumbag and a slut, who can believe us without some expression? Another point is that the more we react, the more relaxed they will be, and they will talk more casually. Feng Bao's mouth twitched, but she obviously thought what Su Weifeng said was very reasonable. Taking a deep breath again, Feng Bao nodded and said straightforwardly, okay, you take the initiative, and I will cooperate. Su Weifeng said worriedly, are you sure? What nonsense. Feng Bao gritted her teeth, stretched out her arms, and hugged Su Weifeng's head, and kissed Su Weifeng on the lips. Chapter 415, Entering the play. Since she didn't have her first kiss, Feng Bao really wanted to give up. In addition, there was another strong enough idea to support her, that is, to carry out the mission, so it was worth it. Su Weifeng swears to God, he really didn't want Feng Bao to do this. He just wanted Feng Bao to follow him and make some noise. If he found that the other party stood up, the two of them would make some noise. Who knew that Feng Bao would be so direct that he didn't react for a while? By the time he reacted, they had already kissed. If he pushed Feng Bao away now, I'm afraid this woman would be furious. Feng Bao of course also showed a formality at this time. Her lips were just pressed against Su Weifeng's lips, and then there was no other movement. Her ears were pressed against the back of the chair, and the voice from the other side was indeed faintly transmitted. Are these two guys problematic? The first sentence he heard was actually suspicious of them. It shouldn't be, they are just a couple of hungry men and women. Be careful, look at what they are doing. Don't make a sound, just stand up and take a look. Feng Bao was secretly thankful when she heard this. Fortunately, it was the bastard in front of her who reminded her, otherwise if the other party really saw it, all her preparations would be in vain. Even if there is support now, it is obviously not worth the loss to catch these two people, and the big fish behind will not be caught. Knowing that the other party will come to see her and Su Weifeng in a surprise attack, Feng Bao did not dare to be careless at this time and directly threw Su Weifeng down. It's just a kiss. It's just a kiss. What's the big deal? Even if I haven't done it before, I have seen it. What's so difficult about it? That little mouth directly bit Su Weifeng's face. Feng Bao's two colleagues have actually been worried about Feng Bao's safety. The most important thing is that they don't know who is with Feng Bao. If Feng Bao is in any danger, they will definitely come to rescue her. He had been looking at this side from the corner of his eyes. Suddenly he found that Feng Bao and Su Weifeng were both out of sight. They were a little anxious. One of them stood up immediately and pretended to look over here unintentionally. When he saw the situation here, he stood there in shock. What's wrong? The colleague next to him hurriedly pulled him. He sat down hurriedly, lowered his voice, and said, they are kissing. Or Feng Bao took the initiative. What? The other person's eyes widened at once. Then he stood up in disbelief, and his face instantly showed the same expression as his colleague just now. Damn, am I dreaming? Yeah, I doubt it too. Feng Bao is really good looking, and her figure is also good enough to make countless women ashamed. But her temperament is not feminine at all. In the police force, she is a tomboy who always challenges people to fight. Among the young people, there is no one who has not been beaten by her, and she has long said that she will never consider dating before the age of 30. At first, everyone thought she was just talking casually, but as time went on, countless young male colleagues who had ideas about Feng Bao returned empty-handed, and everyone realized that Feng Bao was not joking. So when they saw Feng Bao like this now, it was really shocking. Fortunately, the two of them were far away from the two suspects, otherwise from their reactions just now, it would also be obvious that there was a problem. Don't look at it anymore. One is that it is easy to be discovered, and the other is that it will be embarrassing for Feng Bao to come back. Yes, we will just pretend that we didn't see anything. The two police colleagues quickly agreed. At this moment, a man over there suddenly stood up and looked towards Su Weifeng and the others. When he saw the two of them hugging and chewing, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. Then he sat down and said, brother, you think too much. Those two guys are chewing happily. Maybe they will start a fight soon. The other man was really careful. He also stood up to take a look, then sat down and said, these young people can really do anything. These two people are really not ordinary people. They are a pair of brothers. The elder brother is Xiao Kang Lang and the younger brother is Xiao Kang Hu. They have received some professional training since they were young, not only in fighting, but also in other aspects. Originally, the two of them should not be too bad if they take the right path, but because they are unwilling to earn those wages with their own abilities, they joined a criminal gang and have done a lot of bad things over the years. It's just that in the past 2 years, the police's crackdown has become more and more intense, and the two have restrained themselves a lot. This time, they are prepared to do a big business here at the request of the boss. Brother, what kind of business do you think the boss is going to take us to do this time? Feng Bao waited for a long time, and finally heard what he needed to hear the most. He stopped immediately, and pricked up his ears to listen carefully. But after this sentence was spoken, there was no movement immediately. Feng Bao acted quickly enough. Before Su Weifeng reminded her, she immediately started to talk to Su Weifeng again and deliberately made a sound. The conversation over there really sounded again. The boss said it was a big deal. After this deal is done, we can enjoy it for the rest of our lives. Oh my god, that would be exciting. The profits from the business we have done in the past few years are too small. It would be best if we can get 10 to 8 million this time. Who knows, but the boss will never treat us unfairly. As long as the business is big enough, we will get enough. Feng Bao was really excited at this time. This is the most important news. Over the years, the police have been eager to catch all the crimes committed by this criminal gang. But their whereabouts have always been secretive, especially their boss, who is completely untraceable. This time, they finally had a chance to catch their boss, so Feng Bao was definitely willing to make a few mistakes. Then, she kissed Su Weifeng almost crazily, using this method to vent her excitement, and also to continue to numb the two guys next door. When acting, it's easy to get into the role. Getting into the role means that she can't tell whether she is acting or being serious. Feng Bao seemed to be in this situation at this time. Chapter 416. There's no way to end it. How could Su Weifeng not feel Feng Bao's change? This girl not only talked, but also took action. Just like Lin Zuangsun, when she was with him. He felt that he had really played too much. If this continued, how would it end? No, this was no longer a matter of how it would end. In this situation, it could not end. Moreover, Feng Bao's enthusiasm at this time did not give him any chance to retreat. Boss. The sudden voice made Feng Bao's body tremble, and his mind seemed to become clear all of a sudden. What's that sound? A magnetic baritone voice sounded. Xiao Kang Hu smiled and said, "Hey, boss, there are a couple next to you." The boss leaned over to take a look, then shook his head and sat down. Su Weifeng and Feng Bao did not dare to look at the guy, but judging from the sound, the guy should be around 40 years old. The real owner appeared, but this place was obviously not a good place to catch him. These people are ruthless, and will kill without blinking an eye. If they are arrested at this time, they will definitely resist. They may even have weapons in their hands, and there is a high probability that they will accidentally hurt other people. So, the play between Feng Bao and Su Weifeng must continue. Xiao Kang Hu was a little impatient, and he couldn't wait to ask, "Boss, what business are we doing this time?" "This business is very big. I have made some preparations. The day after tomorrow night, I will notify you to gather at a place. You should be ready in the next 2 days, and don't have any problems." Su Weifeng had to say that the boss was cautious. Even when dealing with his most trusted subordinates, he would not casually reveal his secrets at this time. "Okay, then we must be ready. If you follow the boss, you will definitely have a good life." "Haha, that's natural. When have I ever let you lose money? Come on, let's not talk about anything else today. Just drink some wine and relax." The boss obviously didn't want to mention more specific things, so he started drinking with the two brothers. In order to hear the conversation here, Feng Bao pricked up her ears, and then she had to maintain close contact with Su Weifeng, so that the sound she made would be more natural, and would not arouse the other party's suspicion. A strange feeling rose from Feng Bao's body unconsciously, and by the time she realized it, she was already in a situation that she could not control at all. With dry wood and rubbing against each other like this, it would be strange if there was no accidental discharge. Su Weifeng was also finding it increasingly difficult to control herself. If she was with Lin Zhuangsun, she would still have a chance to control the situation and would not let the physical contact between the two be too strong. At least she would maintain the most important distance. But now, hugging Feng Bao in this small booth, the two of them were already stacked together, and there was no way to keep a distance. Especially when Feng Bao could no longer control herself, Su Weifeng finally lost the city gate. Even though the room was depressing for the two of them, the sound was still getting stronger and stronger. In the booth next to him, the voices from this side were also clearly heard. The boss chuckled and said, "Let's stop here today. I'm leaving first." After standing up, he looked towards Su Weifeng and the others. It was obvious that he wanted to watch the excitement before leaving. Zhao Kanglang and Zhao Kang who had wanted to watch it for a long time, so they also started to watch it. But the most exciting part was over, and there was nothing to watch. Feng Bao felt weak and had no strength at all. She was so ashamed. This was acting. Why was she still? Especially when she saw Su Weifeng's satisfied look, she felt an indescribable annoyance. But her emotions were soon diverted by the footsteps on the other side. She took a deep breath and sat up immediately. Su Weifeng immediately said, "Baby, it's not enough here. Let's go get a room." "Okay, humph, then you'll see how I kill you." Feng Bao was shocked when she said this. Why is her voice so coquettish? This is not her usual style of speaking. The most important thing is, this is completely unconscious. Su Weifeng directly put his arm around Feng Bao's waist and said with a smile, "Then I really can't accept you." The two of them laughed and followed the three people out, keeping a distance of several meters between them. The three people didn't care. They heard everything just now. This was definitely a pair of hungry men and women. There was no danger to them at all. As for the two supporting policemen, they dared to chase them quickly after they were out of sight. At this time, it was the busiest time in the bar. There were many people entering, but not many people leaving. If so many people followed at once, it would be too eye-catching. The three villains came to the intersection and directly reached out to stop a taxi. The boss also wanted to get in the car directly. Feng Bao was very anxious. If he got in the car, it would be easy for him to run away again, so she rushed to the boss without saying a word. Su Weifeng got in front of her first, blocked the boss directly, and pulled Feng Bao into the car. Feng Bao was about to attack the boss, but Su Weifeng pulled her, so she couldn't help but rush into the car. The two of them were in a posture, as if they were rushing to get in the taxi first. Su Weifeng also laughed and said proudly, "Haha, you wait for the next one. Asshole." The boss just stopped, but Zhao Kang who was furious and stretched out his hand to grab Su Weifeng's shoulder. "What are you doing?" Su Weifeng looked at Zhao Kang who with his eyes slanted, with the arrogant look of a little gangster. Zhao Kang who said with a sullen face, "We called this car first." Feng Bao understood at once, and she also straightened her back, stood beside the car, raised her chin, and said in a non-mainstream manner, "So what if you called it first? We got in first." The gleam in Zhao Kang whose eyes burst into light, and he said, "You really deserve a beating." Su Weifeng took a step forward and said provocatively, "You deserve a beating? Okay, try to touch me. If you have the guts to touch me, I'll kill you." Feng Bao said disdainfully, "That's right. Do you have the guts? With just the three of you, you are not even worthy of carrying my brother's shoes." While speaking, Feng Bao put her arm on Su Weifeng's shoulder and said arrogantly, "Come on, call daddy, call mommy, and we will give the car to you." Su Weifeng couldn't help but secretly give him a thumbs up. Feng Bao's acting skills were really on point at this time, and she was not inferior to the actresses in his own company at all. Chapter 417 Help. Their argument lasted only 1 or 2 minutes. It wasn't long, but it was enough. The two policemen behind had already rushed out. In addition, several people suddenly got out of the two cars next to them and rushed over. These policemen had formed a circle. There were more than 10 policemen in total, and it seemed that it was more than enough to arrest 3 people. Feng Bao was overjoyed. At this time, she suddenly shouted and rushed directly to the boss. But these 3 guys were really not ordinary people. They understood the situation in an instant. The boss actually had time to grin at Feng Bao and said, "Not bad, this acting skill fooled us all." He avoided Feng Bao's attack by turning his body to the side and kicked out swiftly. Feng Bao's reaction was also quite fast, raising her leg to meet it. Bang! With a muffled sound, Feng Bao's legs swung back and her body staggered back a step, and a trace of pain appeared on her face. Obviously, in terms of strength and resistance to blows, she was no match for this boss. But Feng Bao was obviously fierce. She kicked her feet and rushed towards the boss again. The boss suddenly took a step back and his hand swept from his waist. There was a pistol in his hand and the muzzle of the gun was directly pointed at Feng Bao, and he pulled the trigger without hesitation. Feng Bao had never expected that the other party would pull out a gun and shoot so straightforwardly. At such a close distance, she had no ability to avoid the muzzle of the other party. She gritted her teeth and rushed towards the boss regardless of anything. At the moment when the boss pulled the trigger, something like a small stone hit his gun directly. The impact was so powerful that, although it did not make the gun in his hand fall out of his hand, it knocked his gun up. The gun fired, but the bullet went directly to the upper side, so naturally it did not hurt Feng Bao. Feng Bao had no idea of the situation. The sound of the gun, so close to her, had already made her know that she must have been shot. But it seemed that she was so excited that she could not feel the pain. Even if she was going to die, she had to delay the boss for a while and absolutely could not let him run away. With her arms tightened, she hugged the boss and knocked him to the ground. If they had fought normally, the boss was stronger than Feng Bao and could not have been knocked down by Feng Bao so easily. But he trusted the gun in his hand too much and wanted to use a simpler way to get rid of the woman in front of him so as to buy time to escape, which also gave Feng Bao an opportunity. The moment he fell to the ground, he had already turned the muzzle of the gun and pointed it directly at Feng Bao's head and tried to pull the trigger again. But this time, his gun was hit again, and the force seemed to be much greater than before, and the gun in his hand was directly knocked out. Bang bang. At this time, several gunshots were heard, and then several policemen rushed forward, and the black muzzles of the guns were all pointed at the boss's head. In this time, the other policeman had quickly injured Zhao Kanglang and Zhao Kanghu. Feng Bao. Several people held down the boss, and the other two immediately helped Feng Bao up, looking him up anxiously. They subconsciously believed that Feng Bao was injured by the two gunshots just now. The most important thing is that Feng Bao's face was pale at this time, and he said weakly, "Captain, I completed the mission." The captain was relieved to see that Feng Bao could still speak, but he still shouted anxiously, "Bao, don't talk, call an ambulance, call." Another person immediately called. Feng Bao was so brave that everyone admired him. "Bao, where are you injured?" The captain didn't see any scars or bleeding on Feng Bao's body, so he couldn't help but feel a little confused. Feng Bao touched her head and body, and a strong look of doubt suddenly appeared on her face. She said, "It seems I'm not injured." The captain said in disbelief at this time, "Not injured? How is that possible?" Feng Bao found that she was not injured, and the feeling of weakness instantly dissipated. She jumped twice and said excitedly, "Captain, look, I'm fine. How did you do this? He was so close to you and shot." The others looked at Feng Bao as if they were a monster. "Feng Bao, when did you learn to dodge bullets?" "That's right, you are too amazing. At such a close distance, the gun couldn't hit you." Feng Bao laughed and said, "Maybe this guy's shooting skills are too bad. Anyway, I'm fine, haha." Seeing that Feng Bao was indeed fine, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief, and their minds were all on the three guys. Feng Bao suddenly thought of Su Weifeng at this time. In this situation just now, this guy was not injured. But after looking around, there was no sign of Su Weifeng at all. Huh? Where did this guy go? Feng Bao muttered to herself. Finally, he had a chance to slip away. After Su Weifeng was sure that Feng Bao would be fine, he took advantage of the chaos and slipped away. He didn't want to meet them, otherwise he would have to record a statement tonight, which would be a very troublesome thing. He didn't go back to the bar, but sent a message to Hao Qiang. Not long after, Hao Qiang came to find him. Hao Qiang looked at Su Weifeng, shook his head and said, I thought you would spend the night with that woman today. Su Weifeng said a little embarrassedly, what night would I spend with her? Brother Feng, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you're going too far. You can actually kill such a wild woman. If you really want to find a lover, Zheng Shiking has been waiting for you. You don't have to do this. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, Zhao Qiang, you misunderstood. The woman just now was a policeman. I cooperated with her to confuse the fugitives next to her. We have just caught the fugitives at the door of the bar. Is this true? Hao Qiang's eyes widened suddenly. Su Weifeng patted Hao Qiang on the shoulder and said, how can I lie to you? If I really wanted to pick up a girl, why would I come back to you? I would have already gone to get a room. Hao Qiang immediately grinned and said, I knew Brother Feng was not that kind of person. Do we still want to go back and have some drinks? Su Weifeng shrugged and said, forget it today. I have to go home, otherwise your sister-in-law will not accept it at home. Then go back quickly. After Hao Qiang returned home, he suddenly remembered something. When he separated from Su Weifeng just now, it seemed that Su Weifeng still had some marks on his face. Would this guy be discovered when he went home? But now it is estimated that Su Weifeng has already gone home, and it is too late to remind him now. Chapter 418, Non-Marriagist. Hao Qiang really thought too much. Su Weifeng was always very rigorous in doing things. He had used his true energy to eliminate all the marks on his face and body. When Su Weifeng returned home, the magic game between his parents, Qiao Yushan and Lin Zhuangxuan had ended. His parents should still be here, but they had already returned to their rooms. Su Weifeng slipped back to his bedroom. As soon as he came in, Qiao Yushan also walked out of the bathroom, with a towel around her head and only a bath towel wrapped around her body. Ah! Qiao Yushan instinctively cried out, hugging her arms in front of her chest. Su Weifeng coughed lightly, avoided his gaze, and said, you're done washing. Well, you should go wash too. Qiao Yushan said, and hurried into the bedroom, and found her clothes in the closet. Su Weifeng hurried into the bathroom, took off his clothes, and threw them on the washstand. Then he saw Qiao Yushan's clothes were all there. He didn't care. They lived together, and he was a mature man. He didn't have any special fetish for these things, let alone any excitement when seeing them. But Qiao Yushan came back, and knocked on the door. What's wrong? Su Weifeng asked from inside. I want to wash clothes. Su Weifeng was a little confused. He was going to take a shower, and Qiao Yushan wanted to wash clothes here. He was surprised and asked, wash at this time? Qiao Yushan said again, you don't have to come out. I'll take the clothes out directly and go to another bathroom to wash. You wrap them with a bath towel first. Oh, okay then. Su Weifeng felt a little funny. He really thought too much. He and Qiao Yushan obviously hadn't reached that point yet. Besides, Qiao Yushan was not the kind of woman who was generous in this regard. If it was Lin Zhuangxuan, she might have done it. Su Weifeng agreed, took the bath towel to wrap herself, and said hello, and Qiao Yushan walked in. Qiao Yushan directly picked herself up, took a look at Su Weifeng's clothes, and then directly picked her up. Su Weifeng was startled and said, you don't have to wash mine. It's okay, it's just something that comes handy. Qiao Yushan didn't say anything, and just walked out with the clothes in her arms. Su Weifeng was sweating in his heart at this time. There was nothing wrong with her clothes, but the most important thing was the inside of her panties. Qiao Yushan probably had no experience in this area, and didn't seem to be able to see any problems. Qiao Yushan took the clothes, and went directly to the room where Lin Zhuangxuan lived. Although Lin Zhuangxuan's room was much smaller than the master bedroom, it also had an independent bathroom. Why did you come to my place? Lin Zhuangxuan asked in confusion. Qiao Yushan said, I came to your place to wash some clothes. Is a bathroom in your room broken? Lin Zhuangxuan asked even more in confusion. Qiao Yushan suddenly felt that it was a mistake for her to come here. Wouldn't this make Lin Zhuangxuan suspect that her relationship with Su Weifeng was fake? She could only bite the bullet and say, no, Weifeng is taking a shower, and I feel uncomfortable washing clothes there. Lin Zhuangxuan naturally understood this at once, but at this time she could only pretend to be confused. She chuckled and said, you really are something. You wash clothes while watching your husband take a shower. This is also a very enjoyable thing. Qiao Yushan coughed lightly and said, I have my period, and it got on my pants. It would be a bit embarrassing if he saw it. Lin Xuanxuan looked down on her again and said, what's embarrassing about a couple? You think too much. Okay, you have your period, I'll help you wash. That's so embarrassing. Why should you be embarrassed with me? Besides, they are just 2 pieces of clothes. Just rub them out. Lin Xuanxuan grabbed the clothes without saying a word and drove Qiao Yushan out of the bathroom. But Qiao Yushan just stood at the door and said with a smile, there are also Wei Feng's clothes in here. Lin Xuanxuan said without any concern, his is his. It's not like I haven't washed his clothes before. What's the big deal? Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, that's true. When I'm not at home in the future, you have to wash his clothes. Lin Xuanxuan pouted and said, I'm your free babysitter. Lin Xuanxuan is actually a very capable girl. At least she is very skilled in doing things like washing clothes. First, she washed a few outer clothes, then changed the water and started to wash underwear. Qiao Yushan chatted with Lin Xuanxuan from time to time. When Lin Xuanxuan picked up Su Weifeng's clothes, she made a strange sound. Qiao Yushan immediately asked in confusion, what's wrong? Lin Xuanxuan's face turned slightly red, and then she blinked at Qiao Yushan and said, sister, you are not honest. Qiao Yushan was even more confused and said, dishonest? What do you mean by dishonest? Lin Xuanxuan smiled even more and said, were you with your brother-in-law just now? When she said this, she blinked, and her eyes were full of ambiguity. Well, I've already said that I'm having my period, so what else can I do? Yes, I know, so this is normal. What do you mean normal? Your brother-in-law has been back for less than 5 minutes, and he took a shower as soon as he came back, and then I came to you. Qiao Yushan was even more confused. Lin Xuanxuan's smile froze a little. She knew Qiao Yushan too well. If Qiao Yushan really did something, she would definitely be embarrassed, but now she looked confused, which clearly meant nothing happened. Well, I thought too much. Qiao Yushan said in confusion. You thought too much? What did you think too much? Lin Xuanxuan grinned and said, I just wanted to trick you to see if you did anything bad. We haven't seen each other for several days. Who knew you were so honest? Qiao Yushan glared at Lin Xuanxuan and said, why are you so gossipy about this kind of thing? Oh, I see. You also want to find a boyfriend. Lin Xuanxuan rolled her eyes at Qiao Yushan and said, I'm a firm non-marriageist. I will never get married in this life. Absolutely not. Qiao Yushan said disdainfully, you are just talking nonsense. Now your aunt and uncle are not urging you, but in 2 years, they will force you to death. If they are really forced, I will give birth to a child for them to take away. Anyway, I will never get married. Qiao Yushan felt that Lin Xuanxuan was so firm at this time, and it didn't sound like a joke at all. Since when did this girl become such a firm non-marriageist? This is not a good thing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Tell the Truth. When Qiao Yushan came back, Su Weifeng had already finished his shower. Seeing Qiao Yushan carrying the washed clothes in a basin, Su Weifeng couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Qiao Yushan hung all the clothes on the clothes rack on the balcony, and after getting into bed, her face looked a little strange. This made Su Weifeng feel even more guilty, and he whispered, what's wrong? Qiao Yushan frowned and said, Weifeng, you've been with Xuanxuan a lot recently. Have you noticed anything wrong with her? Su Weifeng was relieved immediately, because it wasn't the problem with his pants that Qiao Yushan discovered. But he immediately tensed up, thinking that Qiao Yushan wouldn't discover the problem between him and Lin Xuanxuan. At this time, he could only pretend not to know, and said, what's the problem? I think she's very happy. It's not that. She just told me that she wants to be a firm non-marriageist. If her aunt and uncle force her, she would rather have a child than get married. Why does she have such an idea? Su Weifeng was shocked. Qiao Yushan said worriedly, yes, I'm also a little worried. Although I don't want to get married early and want to build a career, I'm considering getting married later, and I will consider this issue when I'm about 30 years old, but her situation is a bit serious. Su Weifeng's mind raced, and suddenly he roughly understood why Lin Zhuangxuan said that. Lin Zhuangxuan didn't want to compete with Qiao Yushan, but wanted to be with Su Weifeng, so she had this idea. As for what she said about having a child, it was obviously to have a child with him. Lin Zhuangxuan also used Qiao Yushan's mouth to convey her feelings. This made Su Weifeng feel an indescribable happiness and intoxication in his heart, but also a kind of incomparable guilt. It is the most difficult to accept the favor of a beautiful woman. Lin Zhuangxuan actually has to pay so much for him, and he can't give Lin Zhuangxuan anything. What's wrong with you? Qiao Yushan pushed Su Weifeng. Oh, I also feel that this matter is quite serious, but she has never mentioned it to me before. When I have nothing to do, I will slowly find out from her heart why she has such an idea. Qiao Yushan said, well, you should pay more attention to her about this matter. I can understand that she doesn't want to get married so early for the sake of career and freedom, but I think it is definitely not okay to not want to get married. Su Weifeng quickly agreed, okay. Qiao Yushan felt uncomfortable when she had her period, so she deliberately kept a distance from Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng also felt it, but he was guilty, so he naturally didn't dare to get close to Qiao Yushan. The next day, Sunday, her parents made another delicious lunch at noon, and Qiao Yushan went back in the afternoon. Her parents also went back to the old house directly. Although the new house is good, they still like the old nest. When Qiao Yushan is here, it is better to come over to enjoy the family happiness. Under normal circumstances, they are still willing to live their own lives. When only Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan were left at home, Lin Zhuangxuan suddenly pushed Su Weifeng to sit on the sofa, crossed his arms and said, tell me the truth. What did you do with Hao Qiang last night? We went to the bar to drink. Su Weifeng answered nervously. Huh? Drink? What happened next? You'd better tell the truth. Su Weifeng thought for a moment, and knew that Lin Zhuangxuan must have discovered it. He smiled awkwardly and said, this is really ridiculous. Su Weifeng recounted what happened in the bar yesterday, and he really told it in detail, including many details. Lin Zhuangxuan was stunned and said, damn, are you writing a novel or a script for me? I think even Yu Meng is not as good as you. Su Weifeng immediately raised his hand and said, God and heaven are conscientious. This is absolutely true. There is no falsehood, and there is no concealment. Qiao Qiang can testify for me. In addition, Feng Baoer is a policeman. Maybe in 2 days, news involving this case will come out. Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes swept across Su Weifeng's face. Su Weifeng felt scared, and had to take the initiative to admit his mistakes, saying, Zhuangxuan, I was really wrong in this matter. No matter what the reason is, I should have a firm heart and a strong enough body. I can't do such things that go against my heart because of the temptation of the body. Get out. Stop talking nonsense here. Humph, you didn't know how to feel at that time, and now you are pretending to be wrong with me. This matter really cannot be explained, and Su Weifeng can only admit his mistake. Think about it, a great soldier king, who has no heroic spirit in front of a woman. Su Weifeng also has no temper. Who makes him care about Lin Zhuangxuan's feelings? I don't understand at all. With your ability, you can easily deal with those 3 guys. Why don't you just take action directly, and do these roundabout ways? Su Weifeng said, I don't want to get involved with the police, so that they will have something to ask me to do. I have done too many tasks in these years. It's better to let them solve the police's affairs themselves. Besides, I can't always be here. If they become dependent on me, it will have a bad impact after I leave. Lin Zhuangxuan touched his chin and said, then you are right. Thank you Zhuangxuan for understanding. Su Weifeng hugged Lin Zhuangxuan's waist. Humph, I understand, but I still can't accept the way you used with that female police officer. I must punish you, so that you won't commit the same crime again in the future. Okay, I accept the punishment. Su Weifeng breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Zhuangxuan was like this. Basically there was no big problem. Remember this for me. I'll punish you when I think of it one day. Just then, Su Weifeng's cell phone rang. It was a completely unfamiliar number. Su Weifeng answered it casually and said, "Hello, it's you." A woman's voice came from the other end of the phone. It was Feng Beoer or someone else. "Why? Oh, you are a policeman. It's easy to find my number, but I haven't broken the law. It's not good for you to check my number like this." Feng Beoer snorted and said, "You haven't broken the law and have made meritorious service. Can't I check you?" "Oh, what's the matter? Tell me." In front of Lin Zhuangsun, Su Weifeng naturally wanted to distance himself from Feng Beoer. In fact, he didn't want to have too much contact with Feng Beoer in his heart. Feng Beoer said, "For yesterday's matter, you still need to come and take a record. Can you not do it? It's too troublesome. I don't want the reward." "That's not okay. You must come and explain it to me." Feng Beoer suddenly shouted, as if she was going to kill Su Weifeng if he didn't come over. Chapter 420. I can't explain it clearly. After Su Weifeng knew Feng Beoer, he had already put the phone on speakerphone. This voice scared Lin Zhuangsun. The other party's tone and attitude were simply too much. "What do I need to explain to you clearly?" Su Weifeng frowned even more. Feng Beoer's attitude also made him unhappy. We were acting there, and the people in the bureau actually thought we were a real couple. You must come and explain it to me now." "That's fine." Feng Beoer suddenly stammered, "And, say what you should say, and don't say what you shouldn't say." Lin Zhuangsun immediately gave Su Weifeng a warning look. Su Weifeng immediately understood and said, "Hey, sister, you're putting me in a difficult position. How should I know what to say, and what not to say in front of the police? If I tell a lie again, how about you police charge me with another crime? You're such a fool." Feng Beoer's voice was obviously squeezed out from between her teeth. "You can't say the final reaction." "Ahem, just this?" "Yes, that's it. If you dare to say this, I will die with you." As if to emphasize her determination, she added, "I will definitely do what I say." Su Weifeng said, "This is what you taught me. I'm not trying to deceive the police." "Nonsense. This doesn't affect your testimony. This involves my image. Otherwise, I really won't be able to see anyone, understand?" "Okay, I get it. Then come to the criminal police team as soon as you can. You'll find out the address once you check it." After that, Feng Beoer hung up the phone. Lin Zhuangsun patted Su Weifeng's cheek and said, "Although you did something wrong again, you are honest and didn't lie at all. You also have a legitimate reason. I'm a generous person, so I won't bother with you." I knew Zhuangsun was the most reasonable. Su Weifeng immediately hugged Lin Zhuangsun and kissed her. "Okay, go and deal with it quickly. This is also a serious matter. When you come back, I will agree to whatever you want to do." Lin Zhuangsun blinked her eyes, looking teasing. What Su Weifeng likes most about Lin Zhuangsun is this kind of teasing look, which can make Su Weifeng's heart flutter every time. After dawdling with Lin Zhuangsun for a while, Su Weifeng went out and came to the criminal police team. Feng Beoer was waiting for Su Weifeng at the gate of the criminal police team. "When you go in later, you must not say the last one, do you remember?" Feng Beoer bit her silver teeth. Her face flushed with embarrassment, but her eyes were staring at Su Weifeng fiercely. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes at Feng Beoer and said, "Hey, you're asking me for something, and I have to take such a big risk, and you're still threatening me? You." Feng Beoer glared at him again, but immediately suppressed her anger, smiled, and said, "Okay, I'll beg you, okay." Su Weifeng nodded in satisfaction and said, "That's about right." At this time, two policemen came over. Both of them stared at Feng Beoer and Su Weifeng. When they saw Feng Beoer actually smiled and tried to please Su Weifeng, the two policemen's eyes widened. Then they thought of the rumors in the team today. A policeman in his 30s said with a smile, "Feng Beoer, this is your boyfriend, right?" "Ah, no." Feng Beoer quickly denied it. What's there to be embarrassed about? It's normal to fall in love." Without waiting for Feng Beoer to explain, the two policemen walked over with laughter. After walking a little further into the team, a criminal policeman suddenly shouted excitedly, "Feng Beoer's boyfriend is here. It's this guy." This was the policeman who entered the bar yesterday, so he recognized Su Weifeng at a glance, and then immediately shouted excitedly. Suddenly, I don't know how many people came out at once, looking at Su Weifeng, as if he were a monster. Su Weifeng was immediately confused. Isn't it the weekend today? Why are there so many policemen coming to work? Are these people bored? Even if he is really Feng Bao's boyfriend, do they have to come to visit like they are looking at a giant panda? Look at the eyes of these people. It's really like visiting a rare species. Su Weifeng turned his head and glanced at Feng Bao. His face also became strange. What kind of existence is this Feng Bao in this criminal police team? How can it cause such a reaction from everyone? Feng Bao's face turned green, and he glared fiercely and shouted loudly, I said, he is not my boyfriend. Haha. Everyone laughed, and it was clear that no one believed it. You say. Feng Bao pushed Su Weifeng hard, gritting her teeth. Su Weifeng really wanted to prove it to Feng Bao, but her bad temper and the way she used still made Su Weifeng unhappy. At this time, he immediately made a guilty expression and said, no, we are definitely not boyfriend and girlfriend. Did you hear that? Feng Bao puffed out her chest arrogantly, but everyone burst out laughing. Judging from Su Weifeng's expression, it was clear that he was coerced to say such words against his will, which also indirectly proved that the two of them were in a real relationship. The captain glared at him and said, Feng Bao, this is not good. You must change your bad temper. How can you treat your boyfriend like this? Feng Bao didn't dare to lose her temper with the captain and said with a bitter face, Captain, he is really not. The captain waved his hand and said, okay, I know. Xiao Su, right? Yesterday, you were really smart and brave. You cooperated with our police to solve a big case. Now, please come and take a statement. The captain took Su Weifeng to a room, which was a special place for taking statements. There were video surveillance, which was also to avoid torture. Feng Bao also followed, but the captain sank his face and said, Feng Bao, you don't know the rules. Don't you avoid this kind of thing. Feng Bao wanted to say that the two of them were not in that kind of relationship, but looking at the captain's expression, she suddenly couldn't say it, because she knew that no matter what she said, it would not be believed. Feng Bao waited outside for a long time. She wanted to go to the surveillance to see, but the people here didn't let her see it. It didn't take long for Su Weifeng to finish recording the statement. Feng Bao immediately rushed over and questioned Su Weifeng with her eyes. Su Weifeng pretended not to see it, which made Feng Bao even more anxious. Chapter 421 slipped away. Let's go to my office and chat for a few more words. The captain made a direct invitation. Su Weifeng nodded, and Feng Bao followed him this time, and the captain did not object. After chatting for a few words, Su Weifeng knew that the captain's name was Su Zhenking, and they seemed to be a family. Su Zhenking looked at Feng Bao standing motionless beside him, and couldn't help but frowned, saying, Feng Bao, get a glass of water for your boyfriend. He's not thirsty. Feng Bao said unhappily. Su Zhenking's face darkened, and he said, Feng Bao, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you have to change your bad temper. You are in the team, and we need a policeman like you who dares to fight and fight, but you can't bring this way into your life. Your boyfriend is not a criminal. You have to be nicer to him. Feng Bao's mouth twitched, and then she stood up to pour a glass of water for Su Weifeng, but when she put it down, she glared at Su Weifeng fiercely. Su Weifeng immediately showed a cautious look, as if he had been warned. Su Zhenking shook his head again, and made up his mind that he would let the female comrades in the team teach Feng Bao more in the future. Xiao Su, this time we caught an A-level fugitive. Feng Bao should be credited with the first merit, and you cooperated with the police to solve the case, which should have been a bravery award for you. Originally. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, what about now? Su Zhenking coughed and said, because you are Feng Bao's boyfriend. Although you are not a police family member, if you are awarded the bravery award, it will easily cause controversy from the outside world, which is not good for the image of our police. Su Weifeng looked at Feng Bao and said, well, you see, because of you, I even lost the bravery award. Feng Bao snorted and muttered in her heart, I will definitely help you get it. Su Zhenking chuckled and said, but your contribution will not be in vain. It will be accumulated to Feng Bao, and we will consider raising his credit to a higher level. Feng Bao immediately said, I don't want it. I will get as much credit as I deserve. What? You still want to win the award for bravery for Xiao Su? Feng Bao was dumbfounded. Now she was in trouble. If she insisted that Su Weifeng had nothing to do with her, she was fighting for the award, the team would definitely think that she was a profit seeker. She wanted to win a bonus for her boyfriend after she had made contributions. She was too greedy, but if she didn't explain, wouldn't it be confirmed that Su Weifeng was her boyfriend? Su Weifeng chuckled at this time and said, forget about mine, and don't blame Bao. Just like the captain said, she is a police family member after all, and we should always have this awareness. Su Zhenking immediately gave a thumbs up and said, no wonder Feng Bao likes you. The young man is really good. If nothing else, come to the police station when you have nothing to do. This is also your home. Su Weifeng smiled and said, Captain Su, you are too flattering. You will have to take care of Bao in the future. Su Zhenking said, I like this little girl. She dares to fight and has good skills. But she has a bad temper, which makes it difficult for you. Su Weifeng also said helplessly, it's nothing. If there is nothing, Bao is still very reasonable. After chatting for a few more words, Su Weifeng stood up to say goodbye, and Captain Su Zhenking personally sent Su Weifeng out. The passing police also greeted Su Weifeng, and Su Zhenking followed to add gang. Everyone, remember, Xiao Su is a family member of our police force. When you come next time, everyone should be nice. A naughty policeman immediately said, we will definitely take good care of the son-in-law of our police force. Brother-in-law, you must have a drink with him later. This will deepen our relationship. Okay, absolutely no problem. Su Weifeng finally walked out of the criminal police team with the farewell of everyone. As soon as he got in the car, Feng Bao opened the door of the co-pilot and sat in. Let's go to the gym. On the way, Feng Bao had a fierce face and didn't say a word. Su Weifeng also didn't say a word. Now Feng Bao was obviously a powder keg, and it would definitely be ignited at any time. When the two went downstairs, Feng Bao jumped out of the car directly. Boom. The roar of the accelerator sounded beside him, and Su Weifeng's car rushed out directly and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Feng Bao was so angry that she burst into swear words, pointing in the direction where Su Weifeng's car left. Her face was green with anger. She asked Su Weifeng to drive here, originally wanting to take Su Weifeng to the ring and beat him up. Su Weifeng pulled her over, and she subconsciously thought that Su Weifeng would agree. Who knew that this guy would just drive away? Coward, bastard, hooligan. Feng Bao threw all the dirty words she could think of at Su Weifeng, gritting her teeth and swearing, you bastard, don't let me meet you in the future, otherwise I will definitely beat you up. Your grandma won't even recognize you. Bao, what's wrong? A fitness expert came up to Feng Bao, looking flattering. Want to fight? Do you dare? Feng Bao turned around and glared at the guy. This. Feng Bao's eyes widened immediately. Coward, with this little courage, you dare to chase me? The fitness expert's mouth twitched, but in order to maintain his image as a man, he had to bite the bullet and go to the ring. Then, he felt that this was the most regrettable decision he had made in his life. Su Weifeng didn't want to be Feng Bao's punching bag. He didn't want anything to happen between her and Feng Bao, nor did he want to pursue her, so of course he had to run away. It would be more comfortable to go home and be with Lin Zhuangsun. In the new week, the company began to be busy again. The short videos shot by their company have become quite popular now and have gathered some fixed fans. Now basically, there are many fans waiting for the company's account to release new videos. The employees are now very enthusiastic about their work. Although they are busy, everyone is still very happy. At around 10 o'clock, Su Weifeng went to the bathroom, and when he came back, he actually saw Zhao Xiaoshu coming to the company. Seeing Zhao Xiaoshu, Su Weifeng subconsciously felt a little guilty. Not far away, Lin Zhuangsun also stopped and squinted at him, which made Su Weifeng a little frightened, but at this time, he couldn't remind Zhao Xiaoshu. When Zhao Xiaoshu saw Su Weifeng, surprise suddenly appeared in his eyes. He walked over quickly and said, hello, brother Su. Su Weifeng tried his best to show a peaceful smile and said, hello, Xiaoshu, why are you in the company? Zhao Xiaoshu's smile became even brighter and he said, "Thank you, Brother Su, for giving me the opportunity. It was Sister Yumeng who asked me to come here to discuss the copyright of the novel. I will go to see Sister Xiaomeng first, and then I will go to see Brother Su later. Then you go and get busy first." Su Weifeng breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that Zhao Xiaoshu performed well, just like before, and her attitude did not seem to change because of what happened that day. Chapter 422. Zhao Xiaoshu came to his senses. Lin Zhuangxuan followed Su Weifeng into the office and closed the door directly. Lin Zhuangxuan hugged his shoulders, looked at Su Weifeng with a smile, and said, "Okay, is this a secret signal in advance?" Su Weifeng immediately said firmly, "No, absolutely not. I didn't know she was coming, and I haven't talked to Xiaoshu recently." Lin Zhuangxuan said doubtfully, "Really? You didn't even say hello? How could she act so normal?" Su Weifeng asked cautiously, "Is there something wrong with this?" Lin Zhuangxuan rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "Of course it's not right. She obviously has feelings for you, and she almost had sex with you last time, but now she can act so calm when she sees you. You didn't communicate in advance, so she is just too good at acting. This girl is too good at hiding her emotions." Su Weifeng looked at Lin Zhuangxuan in surprise, then shook his head gently and said, "Although what you said makes sense, I feel that Xiaoshu is not that kind of person. The last time she had that kind of emotional outburst, it was caused by some special circumstances, illness, emotional fragility, and a momentary impulse. When she calmed down, she didn't think that way anymore, so when she faced me again, she returned to normal." Lin Zhuangxuan said, "If that's the case, then this little girl is really a very good girl. I'm just afraid that she is as scheming as I guessed. If this woman is too scheming, she will mess up your relationship in the future." Su Weifeng carefully recalled the time he met Zhao Xiaoshu until now, without missing any details, and then said firmly, "I still believe in Zhao Xiaoshu, and I also believe in my judgment." Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, "You are capable, but it's hard to say whether you can have such a good judgment in terms of feelings. Once a person falls in love, his IQ will drop sharply when facing the person he likes." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "My little Zhuangxuan, has your IQ dropped? As for me, my IQ has definitely dropped when I'm with you. Otherwise how could you take advantage of me so much? But when it comes to the flowers and plants around you, my IQ has definitely risen sharply. No matter what conspiracy or trick, it will not escape my eyes." In the afternoon, Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu came to Su Weifeng's office together. Regarding the cooperation, Sun Yumeng and Zhao Xiaoshu have already discussed it. Sun Yumeng has also drafted a contract. Now as long as Su Weifeng and Zhao Xiaoshu sign it, the contract will take effect. Su Weifeng carefully looked at Sun Yumeng's contract. The content is very detailed and the various clauses are quite comprehensive. This is a contract that has been discussed with the legal department. Zhao Xiaoshu has already signed it in advance, and now it's Su Weifeng who is left. After reading it, Su Weifeng looked at Zhao Xiaoshu, smiled and said, "Zhao Xiaoshu, are you sure you agree to this contract?" Zhao Xiaoshu nodded vigorously and said, "Yes, I agree very much." Su Weifeng said again, "As for the contract price and other legal constraints, do you really agree? Don't consider personal feelings. This is a cooperation." The smile on Zhao Xiaoshu's face became even brighter, and he said, "Brother Su, don't worry. I have also read this contract in detail. It is very generous for a newcomer like me. I didn't expect that the first time I wrote a novel, I would be rewarded and have the opportunity to adapt it. This really makes me very satisfied. Since you think so, then let's have a happy cooperation." Su Weifeng signed his name while speaking, and then extended his hand to Zhao Xiaoshu. Zhao Xiaoshu held Su Weifeng's hand tightly, tears suddenly flowed down, and he choked and said, "I can finally stop worrying about money and study with peace of mind." Su Weifeng felt a little sad, but still smiled and said, "You can study with peace of mind, and you can become famous through this in the future. Yumeng, go and arrange to pay the first payment to our great writer." Sun Yumeng agreed and walked out quickly. Zhao Xiaoshu said in surprise, "You want to pay me so soon?" Su Weifeng said, "Of course, the cooperation method has been determined in the contract. This first payment is also for you to feel at ease and be able to create this novel better and more perfect. Yeah, thank you, Brother Su. Arranging the payment needs to go through the finance department, so it will take some time. Su Weifeng and Zhao Xiaoshu were in the office and suddenly felt a little awkward at this time. Zhao Xiaoshu sat on the sofa, holding a water cup in his hand, looking at the water in the cup. After a while, she looked up at Su Weifeng, then bit her lip and whispered, "Brother Su, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Su Weifeng didn't quite understand what Zhao Xiaoshu meant. Zhao Xiaoshu apologized. "The last time you took care of me, I was pestering Brother Su, which must have caused a lot of trouble for Brother Su. I was so foolish and only thought about myself. For ordinary men, my behavior would be a very good thing, but Brother Su is not an ordinary man. Brother Su is a responsible man. My behavior is simply a blasphemy against Brother Su's character, and is simply unforgivable." Su Weifeng listened to Zhao Xiaoshu's words, and the smile on his face became more and more intense. This smile came from the heart, without any hypocrisy at all. This smile was more of an appreciation and pampering smile. Raising his hand and touching Zhao Xiaoshu's hair, Su Weifeng said softly, "Xiaoshu, you can think it through. I'm really happy for you. A girl's body is precious. It is for her lover, not for gratitude or return." Zhao Xiaoshu met Su Weifeng's eyes and said with a choked voice, "Brother Su, I'm really sorry." Su Weifeng's smile became deeper and his voice became more gentle. He said, "There is nothing to be sorry about. I'm really happy for you that you can think it through. I admire girls who can make a living by their talents the most. Well, I will never have such thoughts again in the future, but..." Zhao Xiaoshu bit his lip and said softly, "Can I hug Brother Su?" "Of course." Su Weifeng stretched out his arms directly. Zhao Xiaoshu showed a sweet smile, then threw himself into Su Weifeng's arms and hugged Su Weifeng's waist tightly. The door was suddenly pushed open, and Lin Zhuangxuan walked in, with a stiff expression on his face. Chapter 423 I'm so tired. Zhao Xiaoshu was immersed in her own emotions, and did not hear the sound of the door opening, let alone Lin Zhuangxuan watching them at the door. So she still hugged Su Weifeng tightly. Although Su Weifeng saw Lin Zhuangxuan, at this time, if he pushed Zhao Xiaoshu away directly, it would appear that he was guilty, so he still maintained his current posture. Lin Zhuangxuan was really annoyed at this time. Su Weifeng, this bastard, was still entangled with Zhao Xiaoshu. The most annoying thing was that he did not let go of Zhao Xiaoshu when he saw her come in. An indescribable grievance suddenly surged in her heart, and tears were rolling in her eyes. At this time, Zhao Xiaoshu suddenly let go of Su Weifeng and said, "Thank you, Brother Su. From now on, I will treat you like my own brother. I just don't know if Brother Su will recognize me as his sister." Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "I have always regarded you as my sister. Now you have another identity, that is, the contracted author of our company. We still have to cooperate happily." Zhao Xiaoshu smiled happily and said, "I will definitely work hard to write better and more works. As long as Brother Su doesn't dislike my poor writing, I will write for Brother Su's company all my life." Haha, that's of course the best. I'm optimistic about you, Mr. Lin. Do you think this is feasible? Lin Zhuangxuan almost slammed the door and left, but fortunately he was not so impulsive. Finally, he heard the truth of the matter. He secretly wiped his eyes, walked in directly, and said with a smile, "That's of course the best. I'm also optimistic about Xiaoshu's talent. Sister Zhuangxuan. No, it should be called sister-in-law." Zhao Xiaoshu turned around and saw Lin Zhuangxuan, and immediately jumped up with joy. Lin Zhuangxuan came over and held Zhao Xiaoshu's hand, chuckled, and said, "You little girl, don't run away in the future. If you become famous and write for other people again, I won't recognize you as my sister." Zhao Xiaoshu hurriedly said, "My opportunity was given by you and Brother Su. It was you who gave me the opportunity to make money and not have to look at other people's faces anymore. How could I be so ungrateful?" Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, "Feelings are feelings. Cooperation is cooperation. We don't want you to be grateful to us." Zhao Xiaoshu felt guilty all of a sudden, glanced at Su Weifeng, and found that he nodded, and immediately knew what happened last time. Su Weifeng had told Lin Zhuangxuan about this. Her face suddenly flushed, and she lowered her head nervously and said, "Sister-in-law, I won't be so confused in the future." Lin Zhuangxuan patted her little hands and said, "Let the past be the past. I'm not such a petty person, but don't let such things happen again in the future. Otherwise I won't forgive you, sister-in-law." Zhao Ziaoshu was so grateful that tears came out of her eyes and she choked and said, I. Lin Zhuangxuan smiled again and said, "Okay, I've said it all. This matter is over. I don't want to have any grudges between us when we cooperate in the future. I still have things to do, so let Wei Feng and Du Meng handle it here." After Lin Zhuangxuan walked out, Zhao Ziaoshu suddenly covered her face and said shyly, "Brother Su, I'm really embarrassed to face Sister Zhuangxuan now." Su Weifeng comforted her, "It's okay, your sister Zhuangxuan is also a generous person. If you can think it through, she won't take it to heart." Sun Yumeng walked in at this time and said, "Xiaoshu, the finance department has transferred the money to your account. You check it." Zhao Xiaoshu quickly took out his phone and looked at it. An excited smile suddenly appeared on his face. Then he held the phone tightly and said, I got it. 100,000 yuan. This is the first time I've made so much money. Let me be excited for a while." Su Weifeng and Sun Yumeng both laughed. After work, Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan went to the gym downstairs together. Lin Zhuangxuan used to like sports, but she has been too busy with work recently and hasn't exercised for a long time. Now Su Weifeng has to do physical training every day. She is bored when she goes home alone, so she just wants to exercise with Su Weifeng. In the interval of applying for the card, Lin Zhuangxuan looked around and said, "Do you think I'm tired?" Su Weifeng said, "Exercise is a good thing. It's good for your health to be tired." Lin Zhuangxuan rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "I said I'm tired of watching you. I was watching that Shulingling some time ago." Shulingling finally calmed down, and then Zhao Ziaoshu came. Now Zhao Ziaoshu is finally fine. "You've caused trouble for another policewoman. When will I see the end of this?" Su Weifeng said awkwardly, "This is not a matter of going out to flirt with girls. It's really a coincidence." Lin Zhuangxuan said helplessly, "Actually, I'm not worried about you flirting with girls. You are not that kind of person. I still trust your character." Su Weifeng really didn't expect Lin Zhuangxuan to say that. He felt a little proud in his heart and said, "Then why are you so worried? But if you want to pick up girls, there will always be girls who want to pick you up. This is the most speechless and the most troublesome thing." Lin Zhuangxuan said helplessly, "And now I'm like a little nagging woman, always having to stare at you." Su Weifeng held Lin Zhuangxuan's hand apologetically and said, "No matter what kind of girls want to pick me up, I will turn them away and firmly protect the relationship between us." "I don't believe you." Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng again, but a smile appeared on her face. "Where is the policewoman?" Lin Zhuangxuan asked again. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, "I don't know either. I hope I will never meet her." As he was talking, Feng Bao had already strode in with a shoulder bag on his back. Then his eyes met Su Weifeng's. "Asshole." Feng Bao cursed in a low voice, and then walked towards Su Weifeng with murderous intent. "Is it her?" Lin Zhuangxuan lowered his voice. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, "Yeah, look fierce enough, right?" Lin Zhuangxuan stood up and said, "My man, no matter how fierce anyone is, he can't be bullied. Hello." Lin Zhuangxuan stretched out her hand to Feng Bao. "Who are you?" Feng Bao frowned when she was blocked by Lin Zhuangxuan. Lin Zhuangxuan still raised her hand and said, "My name is Lin Zhuangxuan, Su Weifeng's girlfriend. My boyfriend told me about you, so I wanted to get to know you." Feng Bao's face flushed suddenly, and the powerful aura disappeared in an instant. She shook hands with Lin Zhuangxuan and stammered, "There is nothing wrong with us, don't misunderstand." Then, without waiting for Lin Zhuangxuan to speak, she turned around and ran, disappearing from their sight in the blink of an eye. Su Weifeng was dumbfounded. Feng Bao's cowardice was really too unexpected. Chapter 424 I'm Yushan. Lin Zhuangxuan was also surprised and said, "No way, is this the violent female policewoman you mentioned? The kind of female tyrannosaurus who speaks with her fists?" Su Weifeng couldn't help laughing at this time and said, "Yeah, I never expected her to be like this. If I had known she was so weak, I would have brought you here earlier, and it would have saved a lot of trouble. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, well, I thought this was a tough guy, but now I find out that he is just a weakling. He is not worthy of me as an opponent. Su Weifeng put his arm around Lin Zhuangxuan's shoulders and said, there is no such thing as an opponent. No matter what, I'm always on the same front with you. If there is an opponent, it is our common opponent. Lin Zhuangxuan said with satisfaction, what you said makes sense. I will give you a reward when we go home tonight. What reward? Su Weifeng deliberately blinked his eyes and looked very expectant. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, whatever you want, as long as you dare to ask, I can agree to it. Su Weifeng coughed dryly and said, then you decide to give it. What a coward. Lin Zhuangxuan laughed. After the two of them got the card, Lin Zhuangxuan went for a run, aerobics and so on. Su Weifeng went to the weight room to train. Oh my god, isn't this the guy who challenged Feng Bao that day? Yeah, brother, you are good. You are the first one to challenge Feng Bao and still be intact. Although there are many people in the gym who are looking for girls, many people also talk about strength. Su Weifeng was able to get away with Feng Bao unscathed, which is very admirable. So these guys in the weight room have a good attitude towards Su Weifeng. After Su Weifeng smiled and joked with everyone for a few words, he started training. At the beginning, Su Weifeng's training volume was not large. Many people who came here to train were experts who had been training for many years, so they all looked quite good in terms of strength. Su Weifeng was much worse than them. So when they saw Su Weifeng training like this, several people mocked Su Weifeng. But as Su Weifeng's muscles started to move, and his strength training became stronger and stronger, everyone looked at Su Weifeng differently. A coach came over and said, oh my god, buddy, your strength is good. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, it's just so-so. The current training volume is less than 1/3 of his peak period, but your training method seems to be wrong. Look at your muscles. You haven't trained them yet. The coach raised his arm, and muscles bulged on his body. Su Weifeng said, I just want to be healthier, not to train these. The coach felt a little bored with Su Weifeng's idea. He couldn't let Su Weifeng buy private lessons. After training for a while, Lin Zhuangxuan came over, followed by two coaches. The two coaches were chattering about Lin Zhuangxuan buying private lessons. There are many women who come to the gym to work out, but there are not many girls like Lin Zhuangxuan who are both beautiful and young. As for private training, it is very easy to have some physical contact with students. After contact, something will happen naturally. This is a common thing among coaches. Lin Zhuangxuan came over and took Su Weifeng's arm directly and said with a smile, honey, they insisted that I buy private lessons. Do you think I should buy it? Su Weifeng glanced at the two coaches and said, okay, whoever wants to be your coach, let's fight on the ring. Whoever can beat me, I will let him be your coach. The two coaches also recognized Su Weifeng and immediately stepped back in embarrassment. They only know how to work out and make their muscles more developed. They have no actual combat ability at all. Su Weifeng is someone who can fight with Feng Bao, so how can they be his opponent? Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, you are so fierce. Su Weifeng puffed out his chest and said, I must maintain my sovereignty, and others don't have any chance. Lin Zhuangxuan was beside Su Weifeng, watching Su Weifeng train. Looking at the intensity of Su Weifeng's training, Lin Zhuangxuan was secretly shocked. This man is really strong. From the beginning to the end, Su Weifeng did not see Feng Bao. This woman seemed to be frightened by Lin Zhuangxuan and ran away directly. This made Su Weifeng worry-free. It was best if Feng Bao didn't come to trouble him. In the evening, the two returned home and ate something simple. The training method like Su Weifeng's actually does not require the kind of fitness diet. Fitness is more about reducing fat and increasing muscle percentage. But Su Weifeng is training the explosive power of muscles and the endurance of muscles. With sufficient endurance, the true key can make the muscles exert more powerful power. After 10 o'clock, Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan went directly to bed to rest. There were only two people in the house, so they naturally lived in the master bedroom. At almost 11 o'clock, Su Weifeng suddenly heard the sound of someone walking outside the bedroom. This immediately made him alert. Who sneaked in? but from the sound of the other party's footsteps, it didn't seem as careful as sneaking in. It was completely casual. At this time, the footsteps stopped at the door, and then there was a knock on the door. Su Weifeng got out of bed and said, "Who? Son, it's me." There was his mother's voice outside the door. Su Weifeng couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He went over and opened the door and asked in confusion, "Mom, why are you here so late?" Shenji smiled and said, "Your father and I went to attend a wedding nearby. I didn't want to stay in a hotel, so I came back here with your father. Son, I want to tell you something." As he said that, Shenji walked into the room. Su Weifeng was suddenly startled. If his mother came in, wouldn't she see Lin Zhuangxuan? But it was too late for him to remember. His mother had already walked in front of him. He couldn't pull his mother out at this time. "Auntie, why are you here?" Lin Zhuangxuan woke up at this time, but was still a little dazed. He greeted her subconsciously. Shenji paused and stared at Lin Zhuangxuan, who was half sitting up on the bed in amazement. Then he looked at Su Weifeng, pointing at the two of them with his hands back and forth. "Auntie, what's wrong with you?" Lin Zhuangxuan got off the bed. Fortunately, she was still wearing pajamas. "You, Zhuangxuan, you." Shenji stuttered. "Auntie, I'm Yushan." Lin Zhuangxuan showed a helpless expression at this time. Chapter 425, almost got exposed. "Yushan?" Shenji's eyes suddenly widened, and he looked up and down at Lin Zhuangxuan. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled, came over and took Shenji's hand, let her sit on the edge of the bed, and said, "Yes, I was going back to the head office today, but something happened here suddenly, and I rushed back in the dark. It was too late to finish my work, so I went home to sleep." Shenji patted his chest gently and said, "You scared me to death. I thought it was Zhuangxuan." Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and said, "Auntie, you think too much. Zhuangxuan is my sister. She has a good relationship with Weifeng, but that is the kind of relationship between relatives. Even if someone has something with Weifeng, Zhuangxuan will not do it." "Yeah, that's good, that's good." Shenji nodded repeatedly and said, "Then you guys rest, I'm going to bed." Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "Mom, didn't you say you had something to do just now?" "Ah, look at my memory." Shenji patted his thigh and said, "This is what happened. I chatted with those old sisters today, and they recommended that I go into business in partnership. I'm a little undecided." Su Weifeng said, "If you want to do something, just be happy, but don't be tired." Lin Zhuangxuan immediately said, "Does this require some money? Let Weifeng give it to you." Shenji was a little embarrassed and said, "It does require some money, about 2 million. Su Weifeng frowned slightly and said, "Mom, I don't lack this little money, but you'd better study it clearly. Some people will try every means to cheat you of your money when they see that you are rich. It doesn't matter if you are cheated of some money, but I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it when you come back." Shenji nodded and said, "This is my former friend who asked me to form a partnership. In fact, I also have doubts in my heart, so I came to discuss it with you." Su Weifeng said, "Then when he wants you to do a project, bring it back, and I'll help you take a look. If it works, you can do it." Shenji nodded and said, "Okay, don't worry, I'm not stupid. Your mother has been cautious all her life. She can't stand being cheated of money. Okay, let's talk about this later. You guys go to sleep." Shenji said, and then he walked out. After going down to the second floor, Shenji was still a little confused. When he saw Lin Zhuangxuan's door, he suddenly had an idea and went over to knock on the door gently. There was no response from the inside, which made Shenji a little worried again. He knocked twice subconsciously, and then Lin Zhuangxuan's voice came from the room. "Who is it?" "It's me." Shenji agreed, and he felt relieved. "It's Auntie." There were footsteps inside, and then the door opened quickly. "Auntie, come in quickly, is there something wrong?" Lin Zhuangxuan yawned and pulled Shenji inside. Shenji looked at Lin Zhuangxuan's pajamas, which were different from Qiao Yushan's just now. The doubts in his heart were dispelled at once. He chuckled and said, "I don't have anything to do. I thought you young people wouldn't go to bed so early, so I wanted to talk to you." Lin Zhuangxuan immediately said, "Okay, I like chatting with my aunt the most. No, you look a little tired today, and I don't have anything to do. You go to sleep." "Are you really okay?" Lin Zhuangxuan still looked puzzled and said, if there is anything, just tell me. It's really okay, go to sleep. Shenji said, and turned and walked out. When walking to his room, Shenji couldn't help shaking his head. He really thought too much. Zhuangxuan is a good girl, and she and Yushan are sisters. How could she do such a stupid thing? Lin Zhuangxuan in the room secretly breathed a sigh of relief at this time. When he came to the window, Su Weifeng jumped in directly from the window. Lin Zhuangxuan patted his chest and said to Su Weifeng, fortunately, you reacted in time, otherwise you would have been exposed. You are quite skilled in this method. Su Weifeng grinned and said, this is the basic training for an agent. When encountering an accident, how to make up for it in the best way. This is indeed good. What should we do now? Su Weifeng said, let's go back upstairs. Tomorrow morning, you leave early in the name of Yushan, and then come back and appear as Zhuangxuan. In this way, your parents will not have any questions. Lin Zhuangxuan nodded and said, yeah, it seems to be settled. Come on, take me to fly over the eaves and walls again. Su Weifeng directly hugged Lin Zhuangxuan's waist, climbed out of the window, grabbed with his hands, and kicked with his feet, like a flexible monkey, and climbed to the window of the master bedroom on the 3rd floor in a blink of an eye, and then turned over, and went in directly. Shenji just came to the window, and felt as if a black shadow flashed by. He opened the window and looked out, but he saw nothing. What are you looking at? Su Weifeng's father asked. Shenji said, why do I feel like someone has passed by from outside? Su Weifeng's father said, what nonsense are you talking about? This is the 2nd and 3rd floors. Our security here is very good. We patrol for 20 hours. There is no way anyone can be here. Shenji laughed and said, that's true. Haha, you haven't enjoyed a rich life before, so you are always afraid that others will miss you. This is really a blessing from your son. That's right. As soon as we go out, I don't know how many people envy us now. The old couple's faces light up when they talk about their son. At about 6 o'clock the next morning, Shenji just got up to prepare breakfast, and Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan had already come downstairs dressed neatly. What are you doing? Lin Zhuangxuan said, Auntie, I have to rush back to the head office. Shenji hurriedly said, you have to have some breakfast too. Lin Zhuangxuan said, it's too late. I have to leave quickly. Oh, you are so busy. It makes me sad. Come back early on the weekend and I will make you something delicious. Okay, thank you, Auntie. Lin Zhuangxuan hugged Shenji and then went out with Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng took Lin Zhuangxuan out for a walk and then sneaked back home. With Su Weifeng's ability, it was too easy for anyone to notice. Lin Zhuangxuan changed into pajamas and yawned as she came downstairs. Shenji chuckled and said, Zhuangxuan, you haven't slept enough. Lin Zhuangxuan stretched her arms and said, I went to the gym yesterday and I'm a little tired. I haven't been so active for a long time and my body is a little bit overwhelmed. By the way, Auntie, did you really have nothing to do with me yesterday? Nothing. Shenji laughed, but he felt a little embarrassed in his heart. He suspected Lin Zhuangxuan and his son for no reason. This was really a bit too much. When Lin Zhuangxuan saw the expression on Shenji's face, she felt uneasy. If Shenji knew about her and Su Weifeng, he would be so angry. So this matter, that is, nothing can be leaked. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.